In 2020, everything changed. And while many sports shut down, horse racing persevered. Now, the best thoroughbreds in the world have come to Keeneland in search of a victory at the Breeders' Cup. And TVG will bring you every moment as these contenders make their final preparations to compete on racing's biggest stage. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
The results are in from the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series races, and it has led to the best thoroughbred racehorses in the world coming here to Keeneland Racecourse for the 2020 Breeders' Cup. This Friday, 5 championship races on Future Stars Friday and 9 championship races on Saturday. Welcome to Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm Todd Trupp on our set just off the winner's circle here at Keeneland. It is time for Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, presented by Windstar Farm and Keeneland. If I look a little tired, it's because I was up late last night making sure my colleagues got here to Keeneland. I had to drive over to Louisville, pick up Kate and Bradar. Then on the way back, Kate and I went to Bluegrass Airport and picked up Christina Blacker, arriving from California. So look at this team that we have on site here today for Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. As promised, sitting here with us now, Christina Blacker, all the way in from California. Kate and Bradar doing a wonderful job at Churchill Downs, but she's with us here in Lexington, Kentucky, in addition to Joaquin Jaime, Scott Hazelton, and Gabby Gaudet. But Christina, you've traveled the most miles in the last 24 hours. We start with you.
Yeah, Todd, great to be here, and what a treat to see these horses up close and personal. Sort of starstruck already this morning as I'm having a look at some of the horses out on track. Did get a chance to speak with Bob Baffert. He is here. The last California flight came in yesterday. They were slightly delayed overnight the night prior. Had to do a little maintenance on the plane there. Fortunately, everything in order, and all of the California contingent now on the grounds here at Keeneland. We'll see Improbable in just a little bit. He has already trained Merneath and Classier, Princess Noor to come as well. And then the schedule so far this morning is for Maximum Security to come out around 8 o'clock Eastern time. And then Authentic will be the last horse from Bob Baffert's barn to train this morning. Just some light work, kind of get out there, stretch their legs, feel that brisk, cold Kentucky air, and get everything set in the final few days before the Breeders' Cup Championships. Joaquin?
Yeah, Christina, from a workout standpoint, things are going to be much slower today, but that's just because we are just a couple days out from race day. And staying on the subject of the Southern California horses and trainer Bob Baffert, that's where I'm at right now here at barn 62, waiting for these horses. As you mentioned, they got in a little bit later on yesterday afternoon, roughly around 1:30. So Bob Baffert comes into the Breeders' Cup this year with 15 Breeders' Cup wins on his resume, and no trainer in Breeders' Cup history has earned more purse money than Bob Baffert, with over $30 million. So we're going to be back here at barn 62. Christina touched on a couple horses that we're expecting to see today. We're going to be seeing Gamine also in the Filly and Mare Sprint for Bob Baffert, in addition to Princess Noor, who I believe is already out on the racetrack. And Scott Hazelton, we're going to see the big three, as Christina mentioned just a second ago. A Kentucky Derby winner is going to be on the racetrack in a little bit. That is Authentic, a multiple Grade 1 winner in Improbable, and a horse who was, well, disqualified in the Kentucky Derby, and that is Maximum Security. So, Scott, we'll be back here at barn 62 waiting on these Bob Baffert horses to come out in just a little bit.
Well, right now on the training track, we've got a Royal Ascot winner and a Prince of Wales winner. That is Lord North, and just a trio of horses out here thus far. Not very busy this morning out on the training track like we have seen in days past with the Euros. We'll dive more into that. Kamiko out on the main track already. Gabby Gaudet. We will be on the front side. There's a lot of folks assembling here in the, as we saw yesterday, that we hopefully won't let get away from us. And I promise you, if they do, once you're horseback, nobody's going to be able to get away from you this morning.
I will catch them, that is for certain, Scott. Yeah, it's very crowded on the backstretch here on Rice Road, I should say. Just walking around the barns earlier this morning, all of the horsemen are pretty much here today. Now, the deadline for those Saturday Breeders' Cup horses to ship in is 10 o'clock a.m. So all of the Breeders' Cup Saturday horses have to be here by 10. And of course, all of the horses who are competing on Friday are already here. The deadline was yesterday. I'm back at the barn of Diamond Diamond Oops, and I was just chatting with Andy Biancohen yesterday. So Diamond Oops is actually already on track. They decided to paddock school him today and just jog him. He usually jogs into his races, so that's kind of the schedule for Diamond Oops. But I'm going to be chatting with Andy Biancohen and just talking about kind of the ride that this horse has taken her on a little bit later today. And on top of that, there's going to be a lot of gate schoolers. So Caton, I will be hopping on Duke in just a moment after the break and be showing you a closer look at some of those gate schoolers this morning.
Gabby, we look forward to that. And I am enjoying my new position here overlooking the paddock from high on the second floor. And I just got a great view of Tacitus, who strolled through the paddock. Also, Bill Mott was aboard the pony, leading him through the paddock. That's the first horse I've gotten to see since I arrived here at Keeneland. Well, with the exception of Princess Noor, who was crossing the road when I pulled in off of Rice Road. Back at Churchill Downs, though, the plan for all the horses that were still stabled there was to train first thing this morning when the track opened at about 5:15 a.m. All but a very small number have confirmed that their horses have trained, that everything is good, and the plan is for all of them to ship sometime between 7:30 and 8 o'clock this morning. So before long, we're going to see all of them, Todd, but I am really excited to get a firsthand look at those horses that are already here.
And it is one of our warmer mornings that we've had, and we can feel that we are certainly building up to Friday and Saturday, where the temperatures are going to be around 70 degrees. But as everyone mentioned across the board, everywhere you look, there is a big horse in each division, and one of the biggest is Improbable, your favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic on Saturday. And Caton Improbable looked great in California, but this is our first look of him here at Keeneland Racecourse. How does he look to you?
I guess we can say he travels well, Todd. He's carrying nice flesh. He sure has a great expression there as he takes to the track here at Keeneland. And what I love about him is that he's collected right now and doesn't seem fazed by the fact that this is an entirely different situation and a very different temperature that I'm sure he was accustomed to in California. You can see that he's moving evenly. He's not overly aggressive, but he certainly has a hold of the bridle. His exercise rider has a little bit shorter irons than we see on some of them, which can be a signal that a horse is a little bit tougher, but it's also a sign that the horse is pretty professional, that the rider has enough confidence to be able to put the irons up a little bit more and just settle in and try to get some leverage against the bridle. He's collected, he's attentive, he's very nicely balanced and striding beautifully.
And Caton, what are they trying to do, since we're sitting essentially 3 days out from the biggest race of his career? What do they want to do at this time on the track?
Well, maintain, right? Just don't force anything. And what's going to be interesting to see, particularly I think with the classic horses who are all sitting on go, is that they're not too keen, that they're almost over the top. Now, you saw that little adjustment that the rider made. That was to get the lead changed to the right lead. And Improbable just threw his head up a little bit. I don't think that's a bad sign at all. I think that's just a signal that he needs that encouragement or that reminder from the rider to switch leads. Otherwise, he's doing this so easily, he might not have switched over. And it's important for the riders to replicate every single time they come to the racetrack exactly what they want to happen in the afternoon. So that's going to be part of it too, Todd, as far as trying to do the same thing over and over again versus any big changes or adjustments just a couple of days before the big race.
And the last workout for Improbable, which you watched here on TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, he went 6 furlongs in 1:11.2, and that's why, again, as Caton said, it's just about maintaining. With Bob Baffert, some of those workouts are like races in a lot of ways. Improbable looking phenomenal out here this morning here at Keeneland. Your morning line favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, also with a great post position draw, drawing post position 8 there, and comes in with the greatest win streak of anybody in the race, having won 3 in a row, 3 grade 1s, the Gold Cup out at Santa Anita, then going to Saratoga for the Whitney, and then most recently at Santa Anita, the grade 1 awesome again. Improbable, the son of City Zip out of the APND Mare Rare Event, was bred by St. George Farm, and G. Watts Humphrey here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Firenze Fire, Caton. You know, we're talking about horses have been around a while in the sprint division. Whitmore rightly gets a lot of attention, but so should Firenze Fire, who's out here this morning.
You know, I've seen this horse for a long time, Todd, and Firenze Fire, who, you know, is not perhaps the flashiest horse physically when you see him at first glance before he gets on the racetrack, kind of impresses you in the afternoon in the race itself. You can see he's a little bit longer bodied than, say, Improbable. He's a bigger horse. And at the age of 5, I think the connections don't have to do quite as much with him in terms of his training. They, again, are just looking for maintenance. But as he pulls up, the signs are very positive. And what I like about him, having known him for a long time, is that he's a horse that can lose weight very quickly and get kind of drawn up as a result of his training or his racing schedule if it's been a little bit too taxing. I don't see any signs of that. His weight looks like it's maintaining really nicely. You see the good muscle definition, and he really looks beautiful, as good as I've seen him really throughout his career. Let's check in with Scott.
Caton, as we mentioned, we just had 3 John Gosden horses out here on the training track, as it has been very quiet on the international front at the training track. But Kamiko, the Guineas winner, actually opted to go to the main track for the first time in his 3rd day of training. This is the 3rd day of training, and it really feels like, for these international horses that have cleared quarantine, it really seems like these horses have picked things up and are feeling very good in this 3rd return to the racetrack. So Kamiko feeling good out on the main track as he readies for his date in the Breeders' Cup, the FanDuel Mile, presented by the PDJF. And then down here on the training track, I continue to be enamored by Lord North. He did the exact same thing yesterday when this trio of Gosden horses came out here, Medaya, Terabellum, and Lord North. He was the trailer. They walked out onto the track the right way. They stopped right in front of us here, about midway down this stretch, as you would call it here on the training track. And as soon as they turned around and started jogging the wrong way, he came to life. He did the exact same thing yesterday. All positive signs from Lord North, a horse that's looking to turn things around for John Gosden and now the Godolphin Connections, a horse that won the Prince of Waleses at Royal Ascot earlier this summer. A couple of other notes on the international front. We expect the Aidan O'Brien Coolmore Connection horses to clear quarantine this afternoon, and we expect to see them for the first time tomorrow here in training, as well as one horse that you will not see today, One Master, one of the contenders for the FanDuel Mile. She's staying back in the barn, just looking for a day off, the filly that is one of the leading contenders out of France as she looks for a win here in the United States.
And as we've been talking about all week, we are heartened by the participation of foreign horses coming in for the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, travel very difficult during a global pandemic, and then a lot of countries experiencing some severe lockdowns. So to have the participation that they have right now for the Breeders' Cup is really remarkable. We'll check back in with more going on with the horses coming in from overseas. But let's take a look at a horse out on the track for the Turf Sprint and come in our direction here towards our set. Okay, Caton, we had a discussion behind the scenes. We should probably do this. We should probably do this beforehand instead of. But it's about how do we say this horse's name? I've heard literally 4 different pronunciations.
You and me both. For some reason, Leinster is sticking with me, but I also have heard Leinster quite a bit. And he by any name, has been successful in his last couple races and is a horse that's capable of putting together a really strong streak. But best of all, he's right at home at Keeneland. He is 3 for 4. He's never been worse than second in 4 turf tries here. And you look at him, and Rusty Arnold has been focusing all year long, obviously, after the success that I'm going to go with Leinster had last year. With this as the target. So with all the stops and starts as far as the racing calendar was concerned and the unknowns as far as turf was concerned, the fact that he's able to come in off the 2 straight victories and that he's looking the way he does. He's lean, he's tucked up, he's energetic, he's a happy horse out on the track. Now, you see his tongue is hanging out of his mouth, and Sometimes horses are equipped with a figure-8 noseband or a tongue tie, and I believe he might have had both of those. And those are devices that are used to make sure that the bit stays in the proper position and the horse's mouth stays shut. But every once in a while, when a horse gets his tongue tied or when that figure-8 noseband is applied, the horse is able to work out a little bit of space in between, just enough to be able to let their tongue hang out. And I equate it to Michael Jordan when he used to play, as far as just showing the intensity, and it's just kind of a personality thing with them. But it kind of is a funny sight when you see those horses with their tongues hanging out the side of their mouth. But it is not a bad sign. To me, it means that he's focused, he's thinking about what he's doing, and he's also working the bit a little bit in his mouth.
A funny thing happened along the way to bring you all the best horses in the world and showing you them here in the mornings. A horse named Duke, who's not even participating in the Breeders' Cup, became one of our most popular horses that you've seen in the morning, because Duke has been the pony horse that Gabby has been using around the racetrack. And we are very grateful to Duke's owner, Scott Cole, who has allowed this to happen. He's with Gabby.
Catching up with Scott Cole, outrider at Keeneland, and also the owner of Duke, who has been a complete professional so far this week. Scott, first of all, who are you on?
This is Slinger.
Okay.
He was second to Duke. Duke was my number 1, and he was number 2.
And they grew up together, you were telling me.
Yeah, there's a couple of years in age difference on them, but Duke was the first, and then Slinger matured and came into the lineup.
Okay, so a lot of our viewers have fallen in love with Duke. He's been amazing, as I said. But what could you tell us about him, and when did you first get him?
Oh, I got him. He was about 7 months old, and I just traded for him. I traded a guy. I had a older horse that I didn't really care for. We didn't sync, and he liked him, and put him to pushing cows in a stockyard, and he was just a baby, and so he just caught my eye. He just had a swagger about him that I liked.
He definitely still has that swagger. He has a lot of personality. But Scott, you were telling me a couple days ago, you have to remind me of this story. What was it about him actually coming into the house?
Oh, whenever he was a baby, and after just being weaned, we would turn him loose in the front yard and leave the front door open to the house, and he just would wander in and stand behind the couch and watch TV with the dogs.
Did he have a favorite show?
Nah, he was, I think, more along one of them soap opera kind of guys.
Duke, I wouldn't take you for a soap opera guy.
Yeah, I think he preferred the drama.
Well, talk a little bit more about him too, Scott, just, his personality and how important he has been to you throughout the years.
Well, we kind of got started together, and we both kind of learned off of each other, and whenever he actually figured out what the job was, he just thrived on it. Mm-hmm. You never had to mess with him. If there was a situation, you just let him have his head. He knew what to do. He'd put you right where you needed to be, and he would always take care of me.
Well, he's been taking good care of me as well so far this week. Scott, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for making Duke the professional that he is as well.
It's all him.
To know horses is to love horses. There's a great example of why we love this sport, and horses don't just race around the track. They are capable of many jobs, and Duke does a wonderful job as a pony horse. In the Midst of Biz, let's get to know her. In the Midst of Biz is on the rise in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And Caden, we talk about trainers getting big opportunities. This is the biggest opportunity for trainer Cipriano Contreras, who's turned in the Midst of Biz from a $20,000 never won to lifetime claim to a horse who's now going to be in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, but did take the Grade 2 Thoroughbred Club of America last time out here at Keeneland.
Well, and she really is moving like a classy horse on the track. Look at how she points her toes as she jogs around there, and is just really in tune with her rider, and ears are forward. You can see a nice arc in her hindquarters to her tail. That little gallop is a little bit more than she's allowed to do when she's going the wrong way, but with the sharp weather, the cooler weather, I'm sure she's feeling really good now. Cipriano Contreras was a longtime assistant to Mike Rivas, and having known him in the Chicago area and known him for a long time, for him to have the opportunity to have a filly like this, a graded stakes winner with a win over the Keeneland surface, and a filly who's doing everything right, coming off those 3 consecutive wins. It's got to be such an incredible thrill. And you always love to pull for those little guys, and it's not meant derogatorily, it's meant more just as those trainers that probably don't have the opportunity to have horses of this caliber very often, but they're maximizing what they're given. And boy, she looks pretty. She's very, very pretty mover. If she weren't on the racetrack, you could put her in a show ring and she would get the blue ribbon. Also, Manny Esquivel, the jockey who will be aboard her, rode her to victory in an allowance race at Indiana Grand, and he's a Chicago-based rider and Midwest rider that is getting a shot, which is always wonderful to see. And speaking of Chicago, let's check in with a fellow Chicagoan, Scott Hazelton.
And I'm pleased to be joined, Caton, by John Phillips of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance to discuss the importance of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. And first of all, John, how did the TAA come into existence?
Oh, many years ago, a decade ago, essentially the industry really needed to coordinate the whole aftercare issue. I mean, the question of what happens to a horse after he's finished racing, competing, you know, is a really important one, and everybody loves horses that is in this game, and we really needed to show that through a concerted effort from every industry sector that the horse is going to be taken care of after his racing competition is done, whether it's retraining or rehoming or in some cases sanctuary. It was a collective effort by the industry, Breeders' Cup being a key part of that, Keeneland being a key part of that, and many other virtually every important sector of the thoroughbred industry. And so that's what they came to do, to organize the whole aftercare movement in the United States and Canada.
How important is it to get this message to the owners of these horses while you're here at Breeders' Cup that, listen, you need to be part of this, it's important to be part of this because of what we're trying to get done?
Well, if the industry intends to survive, which I sure hope it does, this is a concern that we just simply must answer. And I think we're doing it very authentically. Every industry component is asked to contribute to that process. I mean, it's an accreditation process. We have 81 accredited organizations and 170 facilities caring for thousands of horses, transitioning thousands of horses. And that's really important for the survival of the industry. We, the TAA, is sort of the overarching organization which relies on our partners to do the on-the-ground work, the in the weeds, if you can call it that, for the retraining or care and rehoming and sanctuary of horses. So we're the overarching, sort of the united way, because we not only accredit, which is really important for everybody to understand, that it's a very rigorous thing. If you're an accredited aftercare organization, you know that that organization is a high-quality organization. And then the second component, because those organizations do need a lot of money, and we are the, as I said, sort of the united way for funding. And there are a lot of well-known TRF, New Vocations, Old Friends, and a lot of writing for the handicap. So there's a huge variety of purposes for those aftercare facilities, but they all need funding. And the Breeders' Cup and the owners need to know that the TAA will help organize and will help fund all of those organizations across the country.
John, as always, great to catch up. We appreciate the hard work, and good luck this week here at Breeders' Cup Week.
Thank you very much, and thank the Breeders' Cup for allowing the TAA and the horsemen to express their love for the horses.
Todd, we urge them to make the pledge.
A guy can speak firsthand to the amazing work that John Phillips and the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance do. I've had people approach me saying, I'm getting ready to make a donation to a certain organization. What do you think about them? And I just contact John. He gets right back to me. A invaluable, just great resource. The TAA, they are the official aftercare partner of the Breeders' Cup. And remember what they are asking. They are asking the connections of contenders in this year's Breeders' Cup to support Thoroughbred Aftercare by pledging a percentage of their potential earnings at the World Championships. If you are one of those connections and want to take that pledge on behalf of our equine athletes, visit thoroughbredaftercare.org/pledge. Back to the horses out on the racetrack now. Here is Plum Alley preparing for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, part of Future Stars Friday. Caton?
Plum Alley, I got opportunity to see for the first time at Kentucky Downs when she won the Juvenile Fillies in her second start off her maiden win at Saratoga. And then as now, she struck me as really athletic looking. She did not have the easiest time of it. Kentucky Downs, as we all know, can be a little bit overwhelming for particularly a young horse. She was okay. She didn't do anything terrible, but there was a lot going on that day. I was very impressed with her effort then. I'm impressed with her effort now. You can see she's got some cotton in her ears, I believe. You can see the little white there, and you'll find a lot of trainers that will do that routinely just to kind of take a little bit of the edge off the noise and the sensory overload that the horses might experience. She, with her head carriage and just, you can see her eye kind of clocking everything around her, maybe strikes me as the type that could react a little bit to something she doesn't expect or to a loud noise. So again, that cotton helps to prevent that from happening. She's jogging nicely. It's controlled. She's not doing anything much, but I think, Todd, it's all good signs that I'm seeing.
Plum Alley, 3 for 3 in her career, and taking most recently the Grade 2 Miss Grillo, a chestnut filly by First Samurai out of the Stroll mare Skipping, was bred by Stone Farm here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And Plum Alley preparing for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Preparing for the Breeders' Cup, we got lots of ways for you to do that, and this is one of the best collectibles offered this year. It is the 2020 Breeders' Cup Limited Edition Maker's Mark bottle. Earlier this year, Breeders' Cup and Maker's Mark announced that this bottle would feature legendary Keeneland and Breeders' Cup President Ted Bassett III, and it goes to a great cause. Proceeds will support Old Friends, National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, and the Racetrack Chaplaincy of America's COVID-19 relief efforts. Go to breederscup.com/charity for champions for more information. I got a call from a friend here in Lexington saying, how'd I get that other bottle, the blue one? Well, that's the Maker's Mark bottle benefiting the PDJF. It's a limited edition with proceeds supporting the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. The bottles are on sale now at select local retailers around Kentucky. We'll be back with more of TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken Rudolph with your Lane 10 Farm Weekly Preview. Watch the Breeders' Cup races on TVG and TVG.com. Early Friday, start with Keeneland's undercard leading into the Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday. Then, on Championship Saturday, it's going to be so epic. Load up your account and fire away. Make sure to watch all the great racing action and wager with TVG.
Turf in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And there goes Promises Fulfilled out to the lead, blazing first fraction. It's Strike Power taken on by Promises Fulfilled. A half mile in 43.92 seconds.
Good Magic has been defeated. The leader, Promises Fulfilled.
Promises Fulfilled is still there close to home. Promises Fulfilled is going to win the Allen Jerkin.
TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
On the inside, Wild again is game, and he's holding on to the lead by a head. Slew of Gold is right at his neck. Here comes Gate Dancer on the outside there in the final furlong. Wild again, desperately holding on to the lead. Slew of Gold is right there in between horses. Gate Dancer on the outside. What a finish. Wild again, Gate Dancer, Slew of Gold in between them. Those three in a dramatic finish, and here's the wire. Wild again does it.
A steward's inquiry would decide ultimately the first Breeders' Cup Classic in history, taking place at Hollywood Park. That wild finish, that Wild again held on with substitute rider Pat Day. And that was many brilliant wins by one of the best riders we've ever known in the sport, patient Pat Day.
Hello, I'm Pat Day. It's my wife, Sheila. Welcome to our old Kentucky home.
Take y'all on the little tour of the Pat Day floor.
This is our trophy room. My wife designed all the cabinets and got all the trophies put up in here, and quite honored that we were able to accomplish all this in the course of our 32-year career. All the Breeders' Cup trophies are up here. Breeders' Cup was a big day for us, and we always looked forward to it and had a lot of success on Breeders' Cup. In 1984, they didn't have these Breeders' Cup trophies as they do here, and but instead, they gave me this over here. Let me show you. Breeders' Cup, 1984, Wild again. That victory really kicked my career to the next level. In January of 1984, I'd committed my life to Christ, got set free from a life of drugs and alcohol and sordid living, got focused on the job at hand, and then subsequently were fortunate enough to win that great race. I might want to show you this. Got a pair of boots down here that are quite special, given to me by Ron Turcotte. Ron took me under his wing, became a dear friend, and I didn't use them very much before I put them in the trunk and saved them. Eclipse Awards are over there. That was the Jockey Karaoke Trophy. Certainly wasn't for my singing ability, I promise you that. Great fun and for a great cause. All of my 8,803 victories, that's the one that really stands out. I mean, winning the Derby in '92 was the absolute highlight of my racing career. I think Unbridled is over here. Yep, Unbridled. And of course, Cat Thief. Awesome again, winning the Classic here at Churchill Downs. Dance Smartly, winning the Breeders' Cup. Favorite Trick, the Breeders' Cup. I'm still working on this one. No, she won a lot of miles. We named her Dance Smartly, got her the same year that Dance Smartly won the Canadian Triple Crown and the Distaff, and I rode a lot of miles on her. She done me well. See there? I can still do that. This used to be my source of inspiration. I'd come down the steps, take a look at all these trophies, and then go in there and work out a little bit in preparation for the day's activities. And now I come down here, and even though it seems surreal, I have the opportunity to kind of look at the trophies and remember the races and enjoy the sweet taste of victory. Come on, let's get her. Let's get her. Come on. You goofy dog. You goofy dog. All right, get on out of here. Get off of our home turf. Have a good day. Thanks for coming by.
God bless you.
In the interest of full disclosure, I'm a huge Pat Day fan. When I was just 17 years old, my first job at the racetrack was working customer service at Canterbury Downs in Shakopee, Minnesota. One of the jobs we had was to take the company van and pick up the jockeys who were come from out of town to ride in the stakes races. One of them was jockey Pat Day. I also had to take him back after the races that day, and he sat up in the front seat while the other jockeys sat in the back, and we had a conversation the whole way. When we got to the airport, he handed me a $10 bill, and I told him that I'm a handicapper. I love to play the races. He's like, bet that on one of those horses that you pick out. I held that $10 until I saw him years later when he was being honored by the Turf Publicists of America, and I had him sign that $10 bill. And it is always good to catch up with Pat Day. He is a gentleman and one of the best riders we have ever seen in this sport. We hope you enjoyed visiting him at his home. Speaking of homes, we're going to join Simon Bray from his home in Southern California as he's here with us on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning. No, I didn't just wake up, just had some technical issues, but joining the show a little bit late, but I have been listening to the commentary. And
how are we doing?
It's been
great
doing good? Thus far. Fantastic. Thumbs up. Yep.
Okay, good. Let's get right back into it as you and Caton are going to join me and taking a look at a horse that is a serious contender for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf presented by Coolmore America. In fact, we saw this horse here at Keeneland last time out. Taking a look now at Mutasaabeq, who did take the Grade 2 Bourbon here at Keeneland from way off the pace, Caton.
And Mutasaabeq, like other Todd Pletcher horses who ran at Keeneland, shipped back to New York before shipping back here, which is a lot of mileage, and yet you wouldn't know it by looking at him. He's, again, maintaining good flash for a young horse. He's very mature looking, and a kind of an easy way of going, Simon, I'd say, as to how he's carrying himself over the racetrack.
Very professional. Is not too hard on himself. A horse like that will get a lot of longevity and will get a lot of miles usually because they don't put themselves at risk of hitting the ground too hard and maybe susceptible injury. Very smooth action, very light on his feet. I'm really blown away with this horse, the way he won the Bourbon. I thought that was very impressive, especially coming out of those two sprints that he had. I thought he might be laying a little closer. Maybe it wasn't by design. He just broke a step slow, maybe a little greenness the first time racing on the turf course, but it was a running style that set him up well in the Bourbon. And he was a horse that on the dirt ran behind Jackie's Warrior, who we're going to see is one of the top choices in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So that 2-year-old form holding up here, but this is a serious contender in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.
Mutasaabeq out on the track this morning preparing for Friday, Future Stars Friday. On Saturday, it is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. A deep and wide open field going there. Diamond Oops, very versatile. And when it comes to the Biancone barn, it's a family affair.
Well, Diamond Oops already took to the track earlier today, and here with Andy Biancone and Caitlin Dunn, who were, well, Andy, you were aboard, and Caitlin, you were ponying him around. Andy, did you pack enough clothes? I would imagine it's a little cold here compared to Florida.
I think I'm wearing all the pants that I packed currently, so it's a little bit different than South Florida, but we're enjoying it. It's beautiful here, and Oops is loving it, so that's the main thing.
How did he go this morning?
Awesome. He was just happy as a clam to go on that little trail ride from Rice Road. He was soaking it all in and really fresh when we started jogging. Got away from the pony for a second, but it's okay. It happens. He's a rock star. He's awesome. So.
Well, talking about the pony, Caitlin, you are aboard the pony. What is your role with Diamond Oops every morning?
We always joke that we don't know who's ponying who more. They both kind of just have this symbiotic relationship where they think, like, if you're good, I'm good. So we just kind of go out there. I try and be the peacemaker when Oops gets a little happy, and, the pony's slow enough to keep him anchored. So that's my role.
It's only you guys, right? And Diamond Oops is groom.
Our groom, yeah, Alvaro.
And Alvaro. Is that a lot of pressure for you guys to just kind of be responsible for everything?
I think we got used to it. We're kind of like each other's emotional support, and Alvaro is the best guy ever. I mean, we're lucky to have him. Sometimes Patrick will just send us with like nobody. So, it's really fun. We just try to have fun with it, and Oops is so special to both of us because Caitlin's parents broke him, so he was broke at Wavertree, and then obviously my dad trains him, and he has just been amazing through everything. He's my dad being sick this past year and everything. Oops has been really my rock, just like he's my escape, like getting on him every morning, and just to be here at Breeders' Cup with him, it's crazy, and he deserves it so much. I can't think of a more deserving horse, so it's special.
I can tell you're getting kind of emotional about him, and he means so much to you.
He really does. I mean, that horse would take a bullet for me, I know it, and I would do the same for him. He's part of the family, and it makes it that much more special to be here with my best friend and our families, and it's awesome.
It's amazing. And I'll ask you the final question, Caitlin. Just what's it like to be able to just travel around with Diamond Oops, with Andy, with your best friend, and just have this ride of a lifetime?
I mean, this has been the most surreal experience of my life. I just started riding last year, a year ago in November. So if you had asked me this time last year if I thought that I would have gone to the Derby, to the Keeneland meet, and then to Breeders' Cup riding the pony for Andy and Oops, I would tell you you're crazy. So this has just been the craziest ride, and I cannot thank the Biancones and Oops enough for taking us on it, because I mean, this has been amazing, the best time of my life.
Such an incredible story. Thank you guys so much, and good luck in the next couple of days leading into the Breeders' Cup. Thank you.
I love this show. I mean, you just don't. These are things that are not in the past performances. That is getting up close and personal and finding why the connections to these great, magnificent equine athletes is so personal for everyone. It's also great weather here today, maybe the best weather that we've had for breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. And looking ahead, it's going to get even more sensational. Future Stars Friday, the first day of the Breeders' Cup, a high of 68 degrees and not a cloud in the sky. And even better on Saturday, 71 degrees for 9 Breeders' Cup Championship races on Saturday. We got much more coming up on this Wednesday. We'll be back with more TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by Windstar Farm and Keeneland.
It's not how we fly, but how we fall that separates the pioneer spirit from the rest. This is what's remembered, what remains, when all else has been stripped away.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Hey, neighbor, we gotta talk.
Well, Jay? No, he only comes to Bugle on race days.
Race days?
With the TVG app, every day is race day. You can place bets right in your phone, even stream live races.
Upcoming race at the Breeders' Cup?
I can have a day at the track whenever I want, right at home.
Coming through, guys.
Go get him, Mike.
Mike Smith?
Yeah, Mike Smith.
There's a new home of horse racing, yours. Get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $250.
Anybody going? 70, getting 50, 80, 75, 850, 75, 175, 175, 150, 175. Sprout, 850,000. Thank you.
Volatile, just like that. In front by 3, now by 4. And the time, 107.57.
As they pass the 16th pole, Volatile, victorious in the Vanderbilt. 1 by 2 lengths.
Sprout, 850,000. Thank you.
This is Karen's land. It's been here a long time, and so is she, along with Mojo. The first fence post went up here. Now there's 5,000 of them. After the storm, she started the cleanup here. This is more than just land, it's home. Karen runs with us on a John Deere 3E Series tractor, because who says a day's work has to take all day? Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere 3E Series for more. John Deere is the official partner of the Breeders' Cup World Championship.
Catholic Boy, one of only 3 American 3-year-old colts in history to win Grade 1s on both dirt and turf, including the immortal Secretariat. A graded stakes winner at 2, 3, and 4, from coast to coast, from 7.5 furlongs to 1.25 miles. In 2018, the fastest 3-year-old in the country over 10 furlongs by internationally successful sire More Than Ready, Catholic Boy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
It's not how we fly, but how we fall that separates the pioneer spirit from the rest. This is what's remembered, what remains, when all else has been stripped away.
Well, it's an honor and privilege to be a partner on the Thoroughbred Industry Awards. These workers wake up every morning, rain or shine, hot or cold, global pandemic, no pandemic, and put their heart and soul into this industry.
My favorite memory is probably the first year. It was when Wayne Lucas was the guest presenter, and just to feel, and you could sense the excitement and the excitement in the room from not only the participants and the finalists, but everybody in the room. It was a special thing they could really see in its first year. And when you hear someone up there say, this is one of the greatest moments of their life, if that didn't put a lump in your throat, nothing will. This is their Eclipse Awards, and we're proud to be part of it.
When you look on the backside and you get to come back here every day and walk around the barns, you see how consistent these guys and girls are and taking care of their horses, being proud of what they do, understanding that what they're doing is extremely important. For me, that feeling is something that, it's palpable.
Importantly, in a year like this, we want to thank all that were selected for these awards, all that were considered, and all that are working so hard in this industry and have done such a remarkable job to keep it going, to maintain the continuity and to allow it to continue, and frankly, it will flourish as a result of all of your hard work. Here today, we look back, and I can't state enough how remarkable that is, and what it says about the people that support this sport. We thank you.
We thank you indeed. And a reminder of the virtual TIEA Awards. We're just about a day away. Tomorrow, November the 5th at 12 o'clock Eastern, Jill Byrne will host the virtual ceremony, as you saw there in the piece. Usually, Godolphin brings everybody here to Lexington. They have a big ceremony. They enjoy a wonderful weekend. They get to go to the farms, go to the races and whatnot. I've seen so many of the submissions this year, and I have to tell you, if you have some time, head to TIEA.org between now and tomorrow and watch some of these videos, because many of the folks that are nominated, they're just overwhelmed that someone thought enough of them to nominate them. And they'll say, I don't do this for an award. I don't do this for recognition. I do this because I want to help people. I do this because I love the horses. And it's just really moving and touching. I hope that you will join online tomorrow for the TIEA Awards virtually at 12 o'clock Eastern. Let's go to Joaquin.
Well, Christina, it was just about a year ago we told you the story about Carlos Santamaria. He is the assistant to trainer Simon Callahan, and it was Carlos that had a successful kidney transplant done. Unfortunately, there's somebody else on the Southern California backstretch that is in a similar situation, just like Carlos. His name is Sylvester de Jesus Garcia, and he has been a groom for many, many years for Hall of Famer Bob Baffert. Sylvester is also in need of a kidney transplant, and he suffers from polycystic kidney disease. And what that is, it's genetic. That is a genetic kidney disease. And Sylvester has been working with the University of Cincinnati Transplant Center, in addition to the Harbor UCLA Medical Center. Let's hear from his boss, Hall of Famer Bob Baffert, asking for help for one of his team members.
Sylvester has been with me for years and years. He's so reliable. He loves what he does. He loves the horses. He never complains, never, you don't even know he exists around the barn. He's that good of an employee. And so when he came up with this problem, it just breaks my heart. His condition got really worse this year, and so he had to go on the dialysis himself. And they came out here. They checked his room to make sure it was sanitized enough for this. It's a big ordeal, and so when we were getting ready to go to Del Mar, he couldn't go to Del Mar because the problem with Del Mar is the electricity will shut off and on during the day, and at night you can't rely on it. And so he couldn't, once he turns the machine on, you can't restart it. So I had him stay here. Sandy let him stay here in a room, and he just stayed here for the summer. And when we got back, we had his horses for him, and so, it's really tough, and so that's why it's so important. I want to get it out there. I want to help him, and even financially to find a kidney for him, because he's got a cute little boy, and it breaks my heart, when I see this. And so, to me, when I see that little boy, I just, I want to take care of his dad for him. And this business has been so good to me. I want to give something back. And so hopefully we can, reach out there. I've reached out to people like, can help him out, like Simon Callahan's assistant. What a great story that was. And he's basically fighting the same fight. But you know what? He never complains. He's there every day, and he's just, just a good human being.
Well, if you're interested and you would like to help, you can contact Leanne Saylor. She is the founder and president, and she can go ahead and point you in the right direction. She's the founder and president of Mulligan's Living Kidney Donors. That phone number is 502-544-2334. And I'm very familiar with Sylvester's situation. This is a personal story for me. My own father was in a very similar situation earlier this year in January. He had his own successful kidney transplant done earlier this year. He had single-digit kidney function, just like Sylvester did. 9% was my father's kidney function at the time. He was on dialysis, and that was the only thing that was keeping him alive, just like Sylvester. I know what it's like to see somebody that is exhausted pretty much every hour of the day, wanting to sleep 16, 18, 20 hours of the day, just because the kidneys aren't properly functioning. There's so many toxins in their body. There's just nothing they can do, and they're just exhausted and want to sleep throughout the day. So that's why this story is personal for me. There was a person that helped my dad and my family when we were in a desperate situation, and that's hopefully something that we can do for Sylvester and bring some awareness to his story, and hopefully Sylvester can come in contact with the right people, and hopefully there is somebody that can help him out there, maybe directly, or maybe this is just a story that gets to a friend of a friend of a friend, and is going to be able to help Sylvester and his family in his situation. And you heard from the sound right there with Bob Baffert that Sylvester also has a 10-year-old son. And as I mentioned, this is something called polycystic kidney disease. It's a genetic disease. And Sylvester's 10-year-old son has the exact same condition as his father. Now, fortunately for him, he does not need a kidney transplant at this time, but it's inevitable. And it's something that is going to happen, and that is something that his son is going to need coming up in the next few years. We'll step away for a short time out. We'll come back with much more here from Keeneland Racecourse.
As they come to the line, Roy H. does it again. As they come to the final 16, Mooney to the front. Got Stormy back in the second without parole, takes third lane behind Mooney in the mile.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken Rudolph with your Lane 10 Farm Weekly Preview. Watch the Breeders' Cup races on TVG and TVG.com. Early Friday, start with Keeneland's undercard leading into the Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday. Then, on Championship Saturday, it's going to be so epic. Load up your account and fire away. Make sure to watch all the great racing action and wager with TVG.
City of Light, who opens up a length and a half. Seeking the Soul is on the scene and coming on now, and Bravazzo swings up on the far outside, and Catalina Cruiser has thrown in the towel. It's City of Light who arrives at the 8th pole, 4 in front. Seeking the Soul, trying to close the gap. Bravazzo is third on the outside. City of Light and Javier Castellano by the 16th pole clear, and they've got it. City of Light has won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile by 2.5 lengths.
We're at Lanes End Farm with Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner City of Light. He was a Grade 1 winner at 3, but his crowning moment was in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, where he beat a very good group of horses at Churchill Downs, which included the Grade 1 winner Seeking the Soul, Bravazzo, Firenze Fire, a very fast horse in his own right, and City of Light, a very impressive son of Quality Road out here at Lanes End Farm.
And he really took that as a springboard to even greater glory as well. And now we talk about some of the races on Saturday. Welcome back to TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm in Keeneland. Simon, looking to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, you got to be a little bit lucky to win this race because you got an overflow field in here, lots of talent. Every horse seems to have a race that they can get to win in here. And Got Stormy is the morning line favorite, and it's really remarkable that as we come to this Breeders' Cup, she's in this race, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, because when we saw her the previous year, she was obviously in the mile on the turf.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mentioned this earlier on the week. I think she's kind of found a new lease of life sprinting here. You know, she's always been a filly that's been a little bit aggressive, right? She likes to lay close to the pace. She'll jump in the bridle, go in a mile. And she'll just get a little bit anxious up front, and they have to settle her, and sometimes she didn't finish going a mile. So Mark Casse, Gary Barber, and the crew decided, you know what, let's cut it back to 6.5 in Kentucky Downs. And she relaxed. She came off the pace. The fractions are a little quicker early. It affords her to sit off those pace setters, and she finds a kick. And then she parlayed that into a win over this course and distance in the Buffalo Trace, Franklin County. I think she's really found a new lease of life here at the age of 5 years old. I think sprinting is really her game. She's looked tremendous on the track. You look at her move here, and you can tell she's a very professional filly. Look, she's had a lot of class. She's beat the boys. She was second in this race last year, but I think this trip is the right move at this stage of her career and where she's at. The key is, as you pointed out, Todd, the best horse might not win this race just because of trip and circumstance. Full field, you're gonna need clean traffic and a ground-saving trip, I think, here in this overloaded field in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
Got Stormy drawing post position 12 and the 7-2 morning line favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Leinster, it is social media that has helped us out with the pronunciation, as we saw Leinster earlier this morning on the main track, but we saw Leinster earlier this week, Simon, on the turf.
Yeah, named after a region in the west of Ireland there. Leinster, look, a name shows up each and every time. There's no question about that. Loves Keeneland, 3 for 4. Rusty Arnold always does well with this horse, no matter where he brings him. And, you know, the turf's going to be perfect for him again. You know, he's got a little more versatility. He's shown the ability to lay closer to the pace and run well from off the pace. I think that'll bear well for him. I think his post position is good, and I think he's thriving coming into this race.
Does it matter to you that a horse has had success over this turf course at Keeneland? Because he's done very well here with 4 tries, 3 wins, and a second.
I think it's very important, Todd. You know, and I know more than anybody, we're both at the Keeneland spring and fall meets for many, many years. Usually you see a lot of repeat winners or horses run well. You know, they have mirror races, right? The 5.5 furlong sprint in the spring meet and the Buffalo Trace Franklin County in the fall meet. Usually those horses that run well in the spring run well over this turf course in the fall. I think that's a huge advantage.
We move off the turf and on to the main track now to talk about the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Unlike the race that we showed you at Churchill Downs, looking back at City of Light, where that was a 1-turn mile, this is a 2-turn mile here. Post position is everything. I think we all agree on that because of the short run to the first turn. So doesn't that put the morning line favorite Complexity up against it here from post 10?
It does, but he's got some speed, you know. He can utilize that speed to get out there and get to the front. I mean, the only other major pace threat to him in the early stages would be Nick's Go, who that's what he does in his last 2 starts. But yeah, they're going to have to use Complexity from that outside post. I think that's the key for him. Again, I mean, there's some question marks about the 2 turns for him. A majority of his races have been around 1 turn. You've got to remember those Belmont Park mile races are 1-turn miles. I mean, he's by McLean's Music out of a Yes It's True mare. Maybe he can get the distance, but, you know, they're going to have to use him early from post 10 to establish position.
Nick's Go really emerged into this division very late. It was all because of a track record performance October 4th here at Keeneland. He won 1 mile and a 16th in 1:40 3, won by 10 1/4 lengths. Since he has come to the barn of trainer Brad Cox, this horse has been sensational, having won both starts for this barn by a combined total of 17 3/4 lengths. How can Nick's Go now do going up against top quality competition like this?
Well, here's the question, okay? It's the ability to put back-to-back performances together. He came into Brad Cox's barn off nearly an 11-month layoff, and he responded. Then he went to the sidelines, excuse me, a 4-month layoff. Then he went to the sidelines for about another 8 months and just, I mean, ran lights out. I mean, a major form reversal, really improved. But that was just 4 weeks ago. I mean, that would be the big question mark for me, whether he can reproduce that effort off that huge win in the allowance race. That's a big ask for me. And I tell you what, as you look through this race, you know, I think it's one of the best handicapping races of the weekend. An evenly matched group. I don't think there's any standout in here, Todd. It's a big ass handicapping problem.
The sponsor loves that. Alex Risen will appreciate that. Moving back to the turf now, we talked about the unique layout of 1 mile at Keeneland with the short run to the first turn. How about the unique distance this year of the Maker's Mark Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf? We're going to go 1 mile and 3/16 on the grass here.
Yeah, which I think is okay. You know, it's not 1.5 miles, it's not 1.25 miles. It's kind of in between. They'll start at the head of the stretch. That's why they have to do that. If it was 1.25 miles, they'd be starting in the middle of the turn. So, yeah, I like this distance here. I don't think it presents a problem for many in here, other than it might present a problem for rushing fall. That's the thing for her. This 1 mile and 3/16 might just be finding her out in the final 16th of a mile. She's won at 1 mile and 8. She won the Diana back here, the race you're looking at. It was a hard-fought victory, but she's going to have to go another 110 yards. And as we know in turf racing, 110 yards, the lead can change 3-4 times. So I think there could be a little bit of a question mark with her at this 1 mile 3/16 distance.
Simon, so often when we get to this race, you are espousing the European contenders. Do you feel that America's up against it in this race yet again?
I think they've got a better shot than they have in years past. I wouldn't say this is the strongest European contingent this year. I mean, Odario would probably be a real play for me for trainer James Fanshawe, 12-1 on the morning line with French rider Pierre Charles Dubois, a very good rider. But I would say there's, you know, in years past we've seen, you know, some very, very good fillies and mares come here. I don't think we see that from the Europeans this year. It's not as deep. I think domestically, Mean Mary warrants a big chance. She's a pace factor in here. She's very, very tough. She puts up a battle each and every time, and she's another filly that loves Keeneland. She's 1 for 1 here, albeit breaking her maiden way back in October of last year, but she at least has form over this turf course.
Well, obviously, the morning line maker valued at the Grade 1 Diana as your top 2 finishers out of there are your top 2 morning line choices for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Essential Quality is out on the racetrack. Let's get back to what's going on just after the renovation break here at Keeneland. So a lot more horses coming out. And looking at Essential Quality just there on the other side of the pony horse, preparing for the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. Caden.
And boy, he has a neat way about him. He's got a lot of energy. Essential Quality is a horse that in the morning kind of fools you because he seems kind of quiet around the barn, and then he gets out on the racetrack and he's got a lot of spunk and a lot of go. He's seemingly settled in pretty nicely. This is the first time I've seen him since he got to Keeneland, and I like the fact that, or appreciate the fact that he is kind of training similarly to the way he was at Churchill Downs, his home base, in that he's pretty relaxed as far as the jogging's concerned. He's striding out nicely, and he seems right at home, Simon.
He certainly does. This is one horse that we've actually been able to follow, pretty much since day one of Breakfast of the Breeders' Cup, and that's always nice. You get to, to compare from day to day to day, and he's the real deal. Look, his form on paper would suggest that, and then when you look at him on track and look at the physical, it backs it up, and he's a horse that, he's a very mature-looking horse. He's still got some growing to do and fill out that frame. I mean, if he continues to progress and go on the trajectory that he's been, I think he's going to be a very dangerous racehorse, going into his 3-year-old year, depending on what happens this weekend, but making a great appearance at Keeneland.
Essential Quality drawing post position 5 in the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, and goes as the second choice in the morning line at 4-1. Gamine is the morning line favorite for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Simon, it was well publicized that the horses coming from California were delayed in their travels here, so that meant the Bob Baffert horses were delayed. We saw Improbable earlier. It looks great here this morning. How does Gamine look?
She looks tremendous. I don't think the delay was a cause for concern, and here's why: because they never left the barn, right? It's not like the plane had taken off and it was delayed, diverted somewhere else. They had to unload, go somewhere overnight. I mean, they were stayed in their own bed. It's like you being told of a flight cancellation before you get to the airport. It's actually advantageous. You get to stay home one more day. So I don't buy into it as it being a problem here. She looks tremendous. Improbable looked good earlier this morning. And she's a pretty looking filly, and like I said earlier this week, she's going to really love coming back to one turn here.
And Christina, were you surprised by Tom Amos just flat out saying, we're going to the lead with Serengeti Empress, whether Gamine goes there or not, but this could be quite a hookup in the early stages?
It is certainly going to be, Todd, and I tell you what, for Serengeti Empress, it's one way of going, and she lays it down each and every time. That was a tough beat for her last time out. Gamine will have to run her down. I'm just outside the paddock right now. Day out of the office is here. She has taken a couple laps through the paddock post-work, post-gallop, I should say. Tim Ham keeping a close eye, as is the team from Spendthrift, as she is a daughter of Into Mischief. She's been very quiet, very good here in the paddock, very alert, but just kind of looking around and taking it all in. Did get a little warm, but that is to be expected after her track work. So it looks like all systems go, and she is going to head back to the barn, Todd, having completed her morning's gallop today.
And Caden, you're right near the paddock as well, and you've been watching all these horses along with us day out of the office doing everything right. Oh, and then now we have some work here at the gate with Essential Quality. What will they be trying to do here, Kate? We've seen a lot of the older horses walk in and back out. Will it be the same here with the youngster?
It very well should be. Generally, except in the earliest staging of the training schedule, the horses will back out rather than go out the front unless they're breaking to run. An Essential Quality, even though he's a young horse, by the way, that was a Barta who we saw just backing out, stablemate of Essential Quality, and also, again, trained by Brad Cox, who I believe is standing behind the starting gate watching these horses as they are doing all of. In fact, I think that's Brad right there, who just let go of Essential Quality. You back them out so that they don't do too much going forward, because the only way you want them to go forward is breaking in terms of a race itself. But you stand them so that before the gates actually open and they go out the front, they stand quietly and don't get so geared up sitting on go that they just explode every time they walk in there. I would think that based on what we saw, Simon, that they're they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is stand quietly, just relax and compose, take a beat, and then back out and go back to the normal routine rather than get all geared up for race mode.
Yeah, these are professional horses. I know they're young horses. They've had a couple of starts. They've been in the gate. They've acted, well in the afternoons in their races thus far. But trainers do this just to remind horses, just to cover all the bases, check the boxes. You're exactly right. You want them not only standing in there, but you want to make sure they walk in good order as well. That's the key. You don't want to have a wrestling match on race day behind the gate trying to get a horse in the gate. So once we get him in there, we like him to stand just for a couple of seconds or two, and then as a little refresher, and then back out and go on about their business. And look how relaxed he is after that.
Another Bob Baffert trainee out on the main track and a big horse. It's Maximum Security preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Simon, you loved his last workout in California.
Yeah, I did. I thought from an individual standpoint, this horse in particular, I thought his work was much better, and he's improving just because, it's been well publicized. He's a lazy workhorse in the morning. Bob said that after, his first start in the San Diego. And then I think he's improved in his workouts in the morning. Will that translate to the afternoon? It might, but is that still good enough? I mean, his biggest threat comes from somebody just about 3 or 4 stalls down, and that's improbable. So, but he's moving well. They've done a great job with him, since he's come to the West Coast and just changed his running style and his training style a little bit. This is a horse that used to work a half in 54. Now he's picked up the tempo a little bit just by virtue of the fact of being in the Bob Baffert program. He's not going to work a half in 54, so he's adjusted, and he's responding to it. Different style of training, he's responded.
Caton, you've been following Maximum Security since the very first start of his career. How much has he changed to you physically?
He's definitely kind of filled out and become a little bit more he's got a leaner look to him than he did at some stages of the game, but he's a horse who actually can go off form pretty quickly, physically, I should say, where he can lose weight pretty quickly if an effort has been too taxing or he's gone through something. So it's interesting to see, because to me, he just kind of looks more mature. There's just a real way about him that seems more constant every time I see him, as opposed to some ups and downs earlier in his career physically. I would also add that as far as his galloping is concerned, Simon mentioned the works and the style of working as being different for him, where he had been at kind of a lazy workhorse. I think that was in part a product of probably his personality, but also the way he was trained early in his career, which was more open gallops, kind of on a loose rein, where there wasn't a big shift from gallop mode to work mode. It was just a little slow acceleration into that 2-minute lick, and then maybe a little bit faster at certain points of workouts. Whereas now it's a prescribed distance, and there is collection in the gallops as well, and a clear definition between workouts and galloping. And I think that was kind of the question mark for him as to how he would respond. But the fact that he's run as well as he has, to me, says that he's a class horse that's going to rise to the occasion if he's doing well. And that seems to be what he's doing right now.
Taking a look now at one of the biggest stars on Future Stars Friday, the heavy favorite for the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile, presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. This is Jackie's Warrior. And Simon, as great as he has been physically out on the racetrack, you've been raving about how he handles himself.
Yeah, he does. He looks like an older horse. I tell you what, there's probably several older horses that don't behave and act as well as he does on the racetrack. And we're talking about a horse that's had 4 starts in his 2-year-old year. So he's had a fair amount of starts, and look how he's handling it, coming onto the track. I mean, walking like an absolute pro. He's not getting anxious. He's not jogging. He's not expending too much energy. Excuse me, that's calibrate. That's calibrate.
Yeah.
That's calibrate.
Yeah. You saw that from thousands of miles away. So I'm not even going to change the conversation to calibrate, because I'm not sure how we get out of this after talking about Jackie's Warrior. But if you want to jump in and...
well, hey, I will. I'll do it for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, I'll do it. Here, watch this. This is called TV. This is live TV, right? So Jackie's Warrior, who's...
Go ahead.
Hang on, wait. Jackie's Warrior is clearly at the head of the class, but as we look at his stablemate, Calibrate, on the track for trainer Steve Asmussen.
No, the better one... The better one would have been, we should recalibrate.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to go there too.
Okay. Kaiten, save us.
Well, we're going to go to Jackie's Warrior for real, but I will tell you as we pause that in the paddock behind me, I'm getting a really good look at Channel Maker schooling. I think Riley Mott is aboard the pony with him, and there's also a couple other horses who are coming through here. But boy, what a fun vantage point this is to get to look at them. Meanwhile, Jackie's Warrior. A lot of discussion about whether or not he is going to handle the 2 turns as effectively as he has the 1 turn distance. And certainly from a physical standpoint, there's nothing to knock. He's been impressive. I know Gabby's talked a lot about him. Simon, you've talked a lot about him from the moment we saw him in the flesh schooling in the paddock here about 10 days ago at Keeneland before the meet ended, and he continues to just look like he's thriving. He doesn't strike you physically as the type of horse that's going to have any problem stretching out to 2 turns.
No, I think that's the key. When you look at his pedigree, Todd, you say maybe there's some question marks by McLean's Music, but when you look at him physically as an individual, there shouldn't be any question he would get the 2 turns there.
Jackie's Warrior, one of many stars out here, and a very busy morning at the starting gate and watching it all up close. Gabby Gaudet.
Todd, that's right. We just saw Dirty Dangle's school here, and he was not having a good time at the gate. They actually had to put him in and back him out several times as he seemed to not be really handling it. So I would imagine they might continue to school him in the morning. He did just back out of the gate. Now he's going to go and do his regular routine gallop. But right in front of me is actually Imprimis. Joe Orsino is actually back with him here at the gate. He was just standing in there. They backed him out. He was a professional. He was absolutely great. So just looking at him closely, it kind of looks like the pony is misbehaving more than Imprimis actually is. But he seems to be pretty calm, and he's got those earplugs in, so hopefully he can turn around and do his routine gallops as well. You can see him here on my right side. I did just see Brad Cox in my peripheral. I'm kind of paying attention to what's going on in front of me, but Brad did say that he is expecting Aunt Pearl to school after the break, so that's kind of why I'm behind here, just waiting for Aunt Pearl. So Todd, we'll check back in a couple minutes. Hopefully we get our sights on her.
Thank you, Gabby. We turn our sights now to Sister Charlie, winner of the Longines Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf 2 years ago at Churchill Downs, and then she was back last year, ended up finishing 3rd as a solid favorite. You know, Simon, when you look at a horse like Sister Charlie and Got Stormy, who goes in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, it really is sporting gestures by all the connections to have these horses in training, and Sister Charlie making a 3rd attempt now in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf.
Yeah, and I think the distance is going to help her. You know, we talked about Rushing Fall, her stablemate. She was beaten by her in the Diana, but here's the situation. I think the Diana, barely helped Rushing Fall, but it really hurts Sister Charlie. I think she's better as these races get a little longer. Even the 16th of a mile further is going to help her. She was a winner in 1.25 miles last year. Of course, she won the Breeders' Cup. She's 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, but she likes to have a strong pace in front of her because she sits back and comes with a nice run, and I think she's the biggest threat. She's a bigger threat to Rushing Fall. I'm surprised Sister Charlie is 6-1 and Rushing Fall is 5-2 in the morning line.
And Kate, it seems like a very deliberate campaign by Chad Brown. She's only had 2 starts, didn't win either of them, but it's all about peaking on this big day.
For sure, Todd. And when you look at her physically, you can see she is a filly who doesn't necessarily need a lot of training. She keeps herself pretty lean and in race shape, so to speak, and kind of the way she goes and the way she's built, you can tell why she likes the longer distances. She's a big filly, kind of a long rangy type of filly who the more ground the better, for sure. But nothing you see here would dissuade you from thinking that she's not going to run a nice race.
Sister Charlie drawing post position 2 in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Given her ability, that's a very attractive morning line at 6-1. Let's check in with Scott Hazelton.
Yeah, with trainer Tim Ham, who with the day out of the office, one of the leading contenders for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and she just pulled up after a 1.5 mile gallop. Tim, what did you see from her?
Looked great. Ears pricked, looked happy going. Just kind of went around there smoothly. Everything looked perfect.
You took her down to the paddock and walked her around a bit with the exercise rider and the pony before she went out for this gallop. What was behind that?
Just to let her see the paddock, let her get used to the new surroundings. That way when she goes in for the saddling on Breeders' Cup Day, it won't be all new to her.
We're watching her right now gallop past this. I believe this might have been the second time that she came by us. How has she reacted since we saw that sizzling workout that she put in just last week?
Came out of it beautifully. She's eating up. I think she's enjoying the sunshine here in the afternoons. It's brisk in the morning, getting a little sun and a little grass in the afternoon. She's been doing great.
Drew the races a couple of nights back. What are the expectations now that we see this race on paper?
Expectations are the same. I mean, she's a forwardly placed filly. She'll kind of see what's going on. There's a little bit of speed inside us, which I think is good, and she can kind of get a position where she's comfortable.
You played it very cool in these conversations we've had. Are you feeling any pressure at all going in as one of the favorites?
Not really. I mean, you know, the horse is as ready as she's going to be. There's nothing I can really do, no pressure to put on myself about it or our team. She's where she's at.
And she looks amazing. Job well done to this point, and good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
She has clearly proven to be the best in the East this year, and a big beast from the West is coming, Princess Noor. Going to be a great showdown in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Tiz the Law has been one of the most consistent 3-year-olds, and you'd have to say the leader of the 3-year-old division this year. Although he was beaten as the favorite in the Kentucky Derby, he bypassed the Preakness. And Kate, they decided to train up to the Breeders' Cup Classic. Is this proven to be a good move with what you've seen in the mornings from Tiz the Law?
Well, energy level wise, you can't fault the decision for sure. He is definitely peaking as far as energy, and I was actually around him a bit at Derby time when he was at Churchill Downs, and I will say he has definitely trained differently prior to the race as far as his overall demeanor. You have to remember he had run an awful lot up to the point of the Kentucky Derby, and when he shipped in, Barclay Tagg has talked about quite a lot about the fact that he just wasn't as comfortable on that surface, and I would say it's a very different picture that we see of him now. Simon, he really, just energy level, just seems a happier horse to me. He's a horse who puts a lot into what he does in the morning. He pulls hard on his exercise riders. They always take him at a time when the track is going to be a little bit quieter, because he's the type of horse that is always on the edge, always ready. He's a very focused athlete.
He is, yeah. I mean, he's a very, as I like to say, a willing participant both in the morning and the afternoon. So at some point, you know, you're expending a lot of energy training and racing. It catches up to you. Maybe that was part of the reason for his defeat in the Kentucky Derby, along with the pace scenario. It's the first time in quite some time that he had 3 races back to back to back. And as I've mentioned before, you know, some of his better races, or at least you look in the past performance lines, have been off layoffs. I think he runs well fresh. I think it was a right decision to skip the Preakness and come here. And in his particular case, I think it was a right decision to come here and get acclimated with the track. You know, these aggressive horses, sometimes, you know, we experienced that, excuse me, in 1996 with Cigar at the Breeders' Cup Classic. It was cool weather up at Woodbine. We shipped in, you know, pretty close to the race, which is something that had been done throughout his career. It was a horse that did not come in way on top of the race. In fact, in the Hollywood Gold Cup, he arrived the day before, ran, and then came back home on Sunday. But he was so fresh, feeling so good the week of the Breeders' Cup Classic of Woodbine. It was so cold that he actually ran off a couple of times in the morning, expended a little too much energy, and that, I think, took a little bit out of him on race day when he went down to that narrow defeat behind Alphabet Soup. You know, so in a situation like this, you come in ahead of time. If you have a situation like that, when a horse comes to a new track, has a couple of days that may be too quick at training, at least you have time to recover and get back and kind of regroup a little bit. And I think they've done the right move coming in early.
I love that story, and I love the fact they brought up Alphabet Soup. He's out at Old Friends Farm, and one of the more popular horses to visit out there. One of the most popular contests and horse player tournament throughout the year. As far as this circuit, it's the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. $1 million in prizes. It's all the Keeneland Live races on Friday and Saturday. We talked about the 5 championship races on Friday. You also have the undercard races, the 9 championship races on Saturday. You've got some undercard races there for a total of 12. It is a true challenge, and that's why the prize pool is at $1 million. For more information and where to play, visit www.breederscup.com/BCBC, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. We'll be back with more of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Hey, neighbor, we got to talk.
Well, Jay? No, he only comes to Bugle on race days.
Race days?
With the TVG app, every day is race day. You can place bets right in your phone, even stream live races.
Upcoming race at the Breeders' Cup.
I can have a day at the track whenever I want, right at home.
Coming through, guys.
Go get him, Mike.
Mike Smith?
Yeah, Mike Smith.
There's a new home of horse racing, yours. Get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $250.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken Rudolph with your Lanes and Farm Weekly Preview. Watch the Breeders' Cup races on TVG and TVG.com. Early Friday, start with Keeneland's undercard leading into the Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday. Then, on Championship Saturday, it's going to be so epic! Load up your account and fire away. Make sure to watch all the great racing action and wager with TVG.
You couldn't compose a better pedigree. A half-brother to Beholder. A half-brother to Into Mischief.
Into Mischief wins the Cast Car Futurity.
The most versatile performer from this brilliant family.
Mendelssohn's going to do it. Mendelssohn has won it by a length.
What a win by Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn by a conservative 17 lengths.
Scat Daddy's best-bred son at stud. Mendelssohn.
TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
Preparations, even though we are just 2 days out from Future Stars Friday, continue here for the juveniles that you will see in 5 championship races on Friday here at Keeneland. More gate work for some of the top contenders in the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile, presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. Jackie's Warrior, the first to kind of move in and back out there, Simon.
Yep, just Steve Asmussen doing all his gate work here, just making sure that everything's okay. They a very, very quick process here if it's uneventful. You know, they just walk in, stand for a second or two. Maybe the assistant starter stands up in the gate with them, and then they back out and just walk away. But that's what I like. They're so professional, the way they handle themselves on the track.
Keaton, a couple of mornings ago, we saw Whitmore come up to the starting gate, even at his advanced age. You still have those types of preparations. We get to see him here this morning on the track. Remarkable 4th Breeders' Cup Sprint. You've watched him up close throughout the week. What are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing the same thing you always see with Whitmore, which is quite amazing, really, and a testament to what Rob Moquett and his team have done with this horse for so many years. He'll be making his 4th appearance in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and he is a horse who's a good doer, who is very professional, who goes out, does what he's supposed to do, and has continued to do that every day that I've seen him. I know in other years there has been a lot of thought going into whether or not you even ship for the Breeders' Cup, particularly last year. I think he's been handled with kid gloves, so to speak, as far as the decisions that have been made from him, because he means so much to the barn. That is true, certainly, of every horse in the Breeders' Cup this year, but particularly for Whitmore, who has been around the Moquett barn for so long. But he looks to me exactly like he did last year. He carries his weight, he's sturdy, he's strong, he's professional. It's amazing, really, that he continues on the way he has.
It is a wide-open Breeders' Cup Sprint this year. Why not Whitmore at his age and with his big late run? Simon, do you like what you're seeing from Whitmore?
Yeah, I mean, he's an older horse, you know. He's just going to go around there and, you know, as they get a little older, it sometimes takes them a little while to warm up. You can see he moves kind of like a sprinter over the dirt there, a short, you know, not as long flowing stride as some of these other younger horses that run maybe a distance of ground. It's more of a short, choppy, abbreviated action with these sprinters sometimes. And, you know, but he's very eager. He looks good. He's carrying good flesh. And, you know, he looks healthy. That's the main thing. You can see towards the end of his gallop, he's just getting a little more aggressive. He looks like me now during my workouts in the morning. It's pretty ugly the first 10 minutes, and then by the end of it, it looks really good.
But he doesn't sweat as much as you, Simon. You're very, very sweaty.
No.
Authentic out on the racetrack, winner of the Kentucky Derby. We saw him in the dark at Santa Anita, and now we get to see him in the light here at Keeneland. And Simon, his post position draw, it was to the outside in the Derby. They left him alone, and he made everyone pay, and he won. Does he have to be on the lead to win?
I don't think he does. I really don't think he has to. I mean, his past performances would suggest otherwise, right? His 2 defeats that he's had have been when he sat second. So, I mean, I guess I'm kind of disregarding my own answer there to the question. I mean, on form, it would suggest he has to be on the lead, but I don't know what they're going to do here. I mean, I think there's going to be some huddling between, you know, Bob Baffert and the connections of Tacitus down to the inside yesterday. They got the 1 hole. They said they definitely don't want to be on the lead. They want something to chase. They're hoping for that. By my standards, as being quick. The pace scenario here, the first 1/8 of a mile is going to be key to this race. Authentic just galloping out here. He's a very aggressive horse. I know they want to get him out when the track was a little quieter. You can see here he wants to go. He's on a short rein, and the rider's just trying to keep him and maintain him in that easy gallop here so he doesn't do too much.
Caton, Authentic had that amazing stretch duel with Swiss Skydiver. They threw down in the Preakness. It was nearly 10 lengths back to the 3rd place finisher. You've seen both those horses up close this week, Swiss Skydiver and Authentic. And we've talked about Swiss Skydiver. Looks like she's bounced back great. What about Authentic?
Well, you know, I don't have as familiarity with Authentic as I do with Swiss Skydiver, having seen Swiss Skydiver regularly. This is actually the first time I've ever gotten to see Authentic in person. So it would be hard for me to gauge how he looks in comparison to how he looked going into the Derby, other than what you see on the TV screen. But he, you know, he's a very athletic, intense type of individual. I do wonder 2 things. Number one, if he can be as effective if he's not on the lead, and if he's going to be able to get that type of a position as well, given how he's drawn, and with at least one other speed horse, I think, in maximum security. Although, as Simon mentioned, it's going to be interesting to see what the team comes up with, and how each jockey is instructed to ride, ideally, out of the gate. Of course, it can all change the minute the gates open. But to me, he's always struck me as the type that probably is better if he's on the lead rather than chasing. He also, and as you see him, I mean, he pins his ears at different times. To me, that's just that intensity. A horse who's kind of arguing a little bit with his exercise rider, but he's very racy looking, and I don't know if that is for him a sign that he's sitting on a big effort or not.
Simon, as the pill draw would have it, all 3 Baffert horses for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic line up next to each other. You have Improbable, post position 8, Authentic, post 9, at maximum security, post 10. So those 3 outside spots. It's very easy for Improbable. He's going to drop back and make a big late run. What do you think Bob Baffert wants to do, though, with Authentic and maximum security?
That's a very good question. And I think, look, Improbable, I've touched on it. He found that new running style last time because they didn't want to get in a pace duel with him maximum security in the Awesome again. They took him back, and he responded big time. So, yeah, you're right. Take him out of the equation. He'll get taken back. But I'm not sure what they'll do. I think they'll probably let Authentic go. That would be my guess. I think they'll let Authentic go to the lead because maximum security has shown the ability to rally from just off the pace. You know, in the San Diego, he sat 3rd that day in the race in which Midcourt and Higher Power was 3rd that day. My guess would be Authentic will just be sent to the lead, especially watching him train here. He looks like he's aggressive. Don't take away anything that comes easy to him. And I'm with Caton. I think, you know, the more you look at it, he's a one-dimensional type, and I think he's a need-the-lead type.
Bob Baffert with 3 chances to take the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. There's a look at Kentucky Derby winner Authentic. Let's turn our attention now to another division that you will see on Saturday out on the racetrack right now, just going the opposite direction, taking a look at Sharp Samurai.
Yeah, Sharp Samurai. He's going to be running in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I tell you what, don't leave this horse out of your business this weekend. He's going to run a big race, I think. I loved him in the Pacific Classic as the upset horse for maximum security, and he ran a good race, finishing second that day, going 1.25 miles. I think the cut back to a mile here, he's a horse that's worked exceptionally well on the dirt his whole career. He's only had 4 starts out of the 22 in his life on the main track, and it's been a long time, with the exception of the TVG Pacific Classic, that he stepped foot on the dirt in the afternoon. I think he's sitting on a big one here. His works at Santa Anita have looked great. I think he's worked, back-to-back 5/8 works we showed you, or at least one of them, in a minute and change. And then the one prior to that on October 24th, also the same time. They look absolutely identical. If you put them in a split screen, those two works, you couldn't tell them apart. I mean, very, very good workhorse. And one on the morning line, he's getting some of my action this weekend.
Been a very busy morning for the Bob Baffert trainees, and catching up with Bob Baffert, Christina Blacker.
Todd, yeah, we are here live with Bob Baffert. Bob, everybody has trained, gone to the track. How'd they all go?
Yeah, everything went really smooth. They got over the track really well. They looked healthy. They're moving well, and that's what you want to see. They got in great shape, and so we had a good day.
Are any of the horses in particular ones that as they take on a new track, new circumstance, going to look around and really need to sort of adjust to their surroundings?
Well, I think, probably a horse like Classier, the juvenile colt, he came out early today, and he was the only one, if I watched one, he was looking around, taking it in. Authentic, he sort of looks around, but he looks like he handled it really well. And but the other horse, they're just old pros.
Have you worked out your tactics in terms of your instructions to the riders in the Classic with your 3 horses?
No, I haven't even talked to them. I usually do that before the race because things change. You like to see how they're doing. But these riders, the only one I've talked to Florent about the 2-year-old. I happened to run into him at dinner the other night. We talked about him, but Johnny V, he knows those horses really well, and I really don't have to say much, But usually I talk the day of the race when I talk to him.
For Authentic specifically, he's been in 2 real battles in his last couple of races. Has he come back showing any effects of that, or is he still building and getting stronger for you?
I think Authentic is doing the best he's ever done coming into this race, and I'm really excited about him. I think Improbable is doing the best he's ever done. Max is doing, people forget about Max, and he looks good. He looks good. I think he's going to like this track. And so, all the riders today, they were really happy with the way the horses went over the track. And that's important that when you watch them move, they look healthy. And Gamine, she couldn't be doing any better. So I'm pretty excited about her.
How would you compare the track versus Santa Anita, just from what you're seeing or what you're hearing as they get over it?
I think this is a softer racetrack, and I think they like it. And it's, you can tell by the sound. I think it's probably a better racetrack than Santa Anita.
And lastly, just a word on Princess Noor. How's she doing as she comes in undefeated to this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies with so many fillies with those undefeated records on the line?
Yeah, I mean, she went around there, no problem. She's such a professional. It's a tough race. I mean, it's a small field, but there's some really nice fillies in there, and we've always thought the world of her. This is, Victor Espinoza's. He's always has her geared down, so he's gonna, she's gonna have to run, show up. But like I said, she's really special, and I think she's really special. So, but she has to prove it, in the race, and we know she'll go 2 turns.
All right, Bob. Thanks for the time.
Sure.
Like they say, Todd, show up and show off. I think the Bob Baffert horses are ready.
Yeah, that comment there about Princess Noor and Caton, as we've seen, and as he pointed out, it's one of the shortest fields, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, but it is stacked. There is not going to be a win in hand by Princess Noor if she even wins. She's got a challenge.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think even though that would be the most compact field in the Breeders' Cup, that is one of the most intriguing as far as which of these fillies is going to step up. And in terms of the pace scenario, how it plays out, a lot of intangibles. As Bob mentioned, the track surface and the differences from the tracks that these horses have been running over individually as they come into this seemingly somewhat neutral playing field makes it I think just as interesting a betting race as any of the other races on the card. And Princess Noor, though, a favorite and a deserving favorite at that is a horse that I would never leave out, but it's far from a favorite, from a standout, I should say, for a single on any tickets.
Well, let's stay with our topic of Future Stars Friday, because we have a horse out on the track right now that will be competing on Friday. 5 Breeders' Cup Championship races for the 2-year-olds, with Future Stars Friday coming up just in 48 hours. And taking a look out on the track right now, looking fantastic as well. It is Spanish Love Affair preparing for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, Simon.
Yeah, she's by Caraconte, who won the Breeders' Cup mile several years back, and so she's got the pedigree there out of an unusual heat mare, that well-known California-based sire for many, many years that produced a lot of good grass horses over the years, and her record has been very, very good. She's won 2 out of 3 starts, and her only defeat was last time out behind Aunt Pearl, who she will be facing again. But I thought, excuse me, she won't be facing. Yeah, she'll be facing Aunt Pearl again, who's the 3-to-1 morning line choice. Spanish Love Affair at 15-to-1. I think that's a huge price on her. She's moving very well over the track here. Good looking filly. You can see, with her gallop there, the way she moves, why she handles the grass so well. She's kind of got that, just slightly higher knee action, which can be exaggerated during a gallop in the slower paces. Horses tend to do that, but look how well she's moving and professional, and she's carrying a good condition as well.
As Spanish Love Affair continues down the lane, we check in with Joaquin Jaime.
Here with trainer Chad Brown, who brings in 13 horses to the Breeders' Cup this year at Keeneland Racecourse, and you actually have former Breeders' Cup winners in here as well, 3 of them as a matter of fact. Well, we'll touch on those, Chad, starting with Sister Charlie. A few third-place finishes this year. How's her preparations coming into the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, she's been training really well. I mean, she hasn't run as many times as we had hoped when we committed to racing her as a 6-year-old. She got a late start, but she seems to be rounding into form. I liked her last race. I think she's coming forward, and like I said, her last 3 breezes have really been good.
Part of that reason is certainly because of the pandemic, but were there other reasons why she got a late start to the year?
Mostly due to the pandemic, and then she's a couple of minor things early in the year, and when she finally was ready to go, then there wasn't races, and it just, I think this whole pandemic has affected a lot of horses' schedules, and she's included in that group. So, but she got to the championship day, which was really what we wanted to do, and like I said, I think she's coming into it well.
You also have Rushing Falls. She's as sharp as she can be right now for you. What about the distance for her? 1 mile and 3/16. Is that a concern for you?
I don't think so. I think a lot of these horses, as they get older, I find, especially in this division, they've been able to run a little further than they could have when they were younger. I think of horses that we've had like Stephanie's Kitten and Day at the Spa that were really milers when they were younger, and when we got them out to this race when they were older, they were able to go a little further, and I think she's no exception to that. I love the way she's been training, and she looks, better than ever physically.
And you also have your Breeders' Cup mile winner from last year in Uni, who beat the boys. How have you seen Uni progress throughout this year for you?
Yeah, her and Sister Charlie sort of run in parallel a bit. They both got started off a little rusty in their races, and it looked like maybe as 6-year-olds they, maybe for a moment there maybe weren't as good or didn't want to do it. But much like Sister Charlie, she's come right back into form in her works, and she's actually turned it around and is coming off a Grade 1 win coming in this race. So I'm real pleased that Uni was able to get right back into form at the right time.
When you're talking about Sister Charlie and Uni maybe possibly not being in their best form, from a training standpoint, how do you do that? How do you get your horses to round back into the good form that you need them into?
Yeah, I wish there was a one single recipe for it, but it's a lot of patience, and when you get to know these horses over several years, like we have with these two fillies, you have a lot of different ways to communicate with them, is the way I'd put it. And, and these horses have earned the right to be handled patiently. So, and their respective owners are just terrific and give me all the leeway I need and time to get them back into form. And of course, my staff's done a really good job with that. And, we had to throw a couple different pitches at them, and then finally they got back into form. And I couldn't be happier with how both of them are doing. All three that you asked about, really.
Well, 3 former Breeders' Cup winners, 13 in total. A lot of live chances. Good luck to you in the Breeders' Cup this year, Chad.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Andy has a great sense of humor. He recently joined social media on Twitter. He's a fantastic follow. He's known for his GIF prowess, and he showed it after Raging Bull, one of his key contenders for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by the PDJF, drew post position 14. We had a little fun with him back and forth, and we wish Chad Brown the best. A big fan of the Breakfast at Breeders' Cup show is Dominic Savides, who is part of the ownership group with Venetian Harbor. In fact, this horse named for a harbor outside his property in Connecticut. He's been on social media extolling the virtues of this show. And Venetian Harbor, last time out, a winner of the Grade 2 Raven Run. Can this horse move forward again, Simon? Because you seem to suggest that the effort last time out wouldn't be good enough to beat this field and the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint.
Yeah, I think she's going to have to move forward. Again, she's another one I think that clearly likes the lead, a pace factor in here. I'm not taking anything away from her. She's a Grade 2 winner. She's Grade 1 place. She's a very good filly. But she was beaten 7 lengths by Gamine in the test, and I just don't see a form reversal there. And she was beaten by Speech in the Ashland as well, who she's going to be facing. Okay, the Ashland was a 2-turn race, so I'll give her that one. But I'm looking to see how she's going to make up 7 lengths on Gamine if they both bring the same type of race, and I just don't see it.
Caton, the Connections felt that they maybe should have challenged Gamine more in the test. Would that have made a difference? Do you think Venetian Harbor could make up the gap with her and Gamine?
Well, in that particular instance, I don't know that anyone was going to beat Gamine when she was ultra impressive in the test. But that said, it'll be interesting to see what happens if Venetian Harbor challenges Serengeti Empress right off the bat. And I think in talking to Tom Amis yesterday, that part of the angst over drawing to the outside is not just being outside of Gamine, but also being just outside of Venetian Harbor. Let's check in with Gabby.
Caton, thank you. I got the chance to talk to her exercise rider, and Zeke Castro, before she actually went out to train. And he said every day she can be really, really tough. It was interesting insight because he actually jogs one with the pony, turns around and gallops off with the pony, and then breaks off from the pony. So she is so tough that he can't really turn her around on her own accord because she might run off. And what he said was that it's very important how her training begins every day. In fact, different riders have different ways of riding, and he said with her specifically, it's really important to take a short hold of her, to start off with a short hold, almost like this, and then if she seems like she's relaxing, then he can give her a little bit more of her head. But the one thing that you don't want to do mid-gallop is start with a long rein and then have to inch up and get a tighter hold of the horse, because oftentimes that's a cue, right? It's a cue to go a little bit faster. So it was just really interesting insight. He also likes to ride her a little bit longer. Sometimes that's a preference for a rider. Sometimes riders like to have a longer leg on a horse and get that contact. Sometimes on tougher fillies, you like to ride shorter because it gives you more leverage. So it really is just preference. But Zeke, he does a great job. In fact, I was standing next to Richie Baltus, and he said that she's a really tough filly. That's why he trains her at San Luis Rey. And Zeke has done a great job. So yeah, just kind of some insight there, Todd, from the rider and what the strategy is every morning to get her at her best.
Gabby, excellent work bringing us insight into Venetian Harbor preparing for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Social media. A lot going on as it pertains to the Breeders' Cup. And for our Twitter talk, Christina Blacker.
There's a lot going on social media in the last 24 hours, but we filtered through and found some racing tweets for you here, and this is courtesy of our friends at ABR, americasbestracing.net, for all of the information you need leading into this year's Breeders' Cup. We're going to start off with Larry Colmus, the announcer for NBC for the Breeders' Cup. He said that the 4 a.m. wake-up call tomorrow for the flight to the Breeders' Cup, definitely worth it, tagging NBC Sports as well. So we wish Larry a safe trip and look forward to seeing him here in the Bluegrass. The next tweet is from Zidane Racing Stables. They say, regretfully, Mr. Zidane will be unable to attend the Breeders' Cup this year as he has recently tested positive for COVID-19. Here's the good news, though. He is feeling quite well, and he is excited to cheer on Princess Noor to victory from home. We wish him a fast recovery and a safe trip to Princess Noor in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I can tell you just from talking to the connections as well that they're just so disappointed that he can't be here, but as we mentioned, thankfully in good health as he awaits the last few days of his quarantine. Breeders' Cup tweeting, did you know that the Breeders' Cup trophy is an authentic bronze reproduction of the original Tory horse that was created in Florence by Giovanni da Bologna in the late 1580s? That's a quick look there, and actually the replica is just behind me here. If we come back and have a look, Todd, we will see in the next couple of days who gets to take home the many replicas of the brilliant Breeders' Cup trophy. And then lastly, TVG fans, did you know that we now have a TVG Instagram filter? You can be part of the show. You can host your own show. You can go live with the Twitter and Breeders' Cup TVG Instagram filter. So what you'll want to do if you want to find this, head to your own Instagram page and then navigate to TVG's Instagram page. So you just search TVG, you'll tap that up, and then right when you see at the top where stories would be listed, it'll say TVG Lens. Hit TVG Lens, and then you'll have a swipe up effect that comes to you. Swipe up and you're right there with your own microphone and going live with us here on TVG. So chime in, be part of the show. Be sure to tag us as well, Todd. If you want to use that filter, then we'll go ahead and hopefully share that on our channels as well. Back to you for now.
Looking at that filter, it looks a little rough. You see what I did there? The Japanese horses were going by. We're going to take a short time out. We'll be back with more from Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. Big-ass fans, exceptionally engineered.
Catalina Cruiser. He won 7 of 9 starts coast to coast with 6 triple-digit buyers and 5 dominating graded stakes wins, including a record in the Grade 2 True North Stakes. A son of leading 5th crop sire, Union Rags. A $370,000 yearling with an imposing physical and one of the best of his generation. There's only one Catalina Cruiser, now standing at Lane's End.
Breeders know that English Channel offers unparalleled value in its class. With 9 crops of racing age, English Channel has sired 6 champions, 5 millionaires, and 23 graded stakes winners. A perennial leader among turf stallions, English Channel has also sired 9 individual Grade 1 winners on both the turf and dirt. English Channel, the best value at stud.
We sold 2 gun runners. One was the highest priced gun runner filly in the sale. She was $750,000.
He's got pedigree. He's got a phenomenal race record. Trained by a trainer that's made stallions in the past, and has a phenomenal female family.
Wouldn't shock me at all if he had competitors in the Breeders' Cup juvenile events at the end of the year.
Anybody that's breeding a quality mare should certainly think about going to him.
$775,000, thank you.
Consistently versatile, with 19 Grade 1 winners on every surface, from 6 furlongs to 1 1/4 miles, all over the world. 3 new Grade 1 winners in 2020.
Echo Town wins the Allen Jerkin Stakes.
And Lady Spikespear has gone on to win the Natalma by 3/4, Alda.
All purpose, all places, all power. Spikestown.
Just 48 hours until the first of 2 championship days of racing here at Keeneland. The Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. Out on the track this morning is Uni, who was so brilliant in last year's TVG Breeders' Cup Mile, which is this year's FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile, our parent company at TVG, and presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. We have seen some good win streaks. Horses defend their title in this race over the years. Simon, is Uni capable?
I think so. It's kind of what Chad alluded to in the interview with Joaquin. You know, at the beginning of the year, you'd think, oof, boy, she's a little off form. Maybe it wasn't the right decision to leave her around in training. But she woke up last time in the First Lady over this very turf course. Again, she's another one that went back to Belmont after that win and has come back to Keeneland. And she's, you know, she's doing well. I think that's a good indication that she's heading in the right direction. You pair that in company with what we're seeing here on the racetrack. She looks very keen, very and willing, and you know, healthy. I'm not so sure she hasn't been trace clipped. I can't tell from here. Look, forgive me, I'm looking at them 100 miles away. But what that means is the hair coat. She might have been starting to get a winter hair coat, and she might have been clipped. It's hard to tell from here. It just looked like it when she went around the sun there. Nothing to be alarmed about, but I think it just, you know, sometimes you get a little worried if a filly or mare's hair coat starts to turn this time of the year. I might be wrong. That's something maybe we could follow up on.
Uni drawing post position 12 for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by PDJF, 5-1 in the morning line. The Chad Brown Brigade continues. This time we're taking a look at Rushing Fall, Caden, preparing for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Simon suggested maybe a mile and 3/16 is pushing her distance limitations. What do you see here in the morning, and is that something you'd be concerned about in the afternoon?
Well, you have to consider it for sure, but I haven't seen that in terms of her most recent races, any suggestion that she's showing any signs of stopping in her races. Diana in particular, though she only won by a neck, I didn't feel it was because she was slowing down at all. And I thought Rushing Fall is the type of mare that is somewhat push button in the early stages of the race. She has a natural high cruising speed where she can sit pretty close and put herself in the race early, and yet I think the fact that she will probably relax and do whatever Javier Castellano asks her to do is going to serve her well. In terms of her training, she's pretty consistent, similar to what we see from so many of Chad Brown's horses as to how she's doing. She's just kind of an easy maintenance type of gallop here for sure.
Rushing Fall, the 5-2 morning line favorite for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, 1 mile and 3/16 on the grass this Saturday here at Keeneland. Owned by E5 Racing Thoroughbreds, a bay mare by More Than Ready out of the Forestry mare Autumnal. Busy morning here with just 48 hours remaining until the first Breeders' Cup day. We'll be back with more of the preparations here on TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland.
This is Karen's land. It's been here a long time, and so is she, along with Mojo. The first fence post went up here. Now there's 5,000 of them. After the storm, she started the cleanup here. This is more than just land, it's home. Karen runs with us on a John Deere 3E Series tractor, because who says a day's work has to take all day? Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere 3E Series for more. John Deere is the official partner of the Breeders' Cup World Championship.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken Rudolph with your Lanes End Farm Weekly Preview. Watch the Breeders' Cup races on TVG and TVG.com. Early Friday, start with Keeneland's undercard leading into the Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday. Then, on Championship Saturday, it's going to be so epic. Load up your account and fire away. Make sure to watch all the great racing action and wager with TVG.
Hey neighbor, we gotta talk.
Well, Jay? No, he only comes to Bugle on race days.
Race days?
With the TVG app, every day is race day. You can place bets right in your phone, even stream live races.
Upcoming race at the Breeders' Cup.
I can have a day at the track whenever I want, right at home.
Coming through, guys.
Go get him, Mike.
Mike Smith?
Yeah, Mike Smith.
There's a new home of horse racing, yours. Get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $250.
Dylan Thomas making real hard work of it. Can he come out now? Red Rocks down the centre. Grand Couturier tries to get involved late. Better Talk now down the centre. But it's English Channel absolutely dominating them out here. And it's going to be English Channel and John Velasquez, runaway winners in the Breeders' Cup Turf. English Channel romping in from Shandonat.
Here's a Breeders' Cup Turf champion for the ages, really, when you consider the field that he beat back in 2007 at Monmouth Park and the ground, the testing ground that he had to run over on that afternoon in Oceanport, New Jersey. English Channel, and a horse that has brought that talent from the racetrack to the breeding shed here at Calumet Farm. He has sired 6 champions, sire of Channel Maker, Grade 1 winner this year here in 2020. English Channel, just one of the all-time best as far as the group that he beat, including the ARC winner Dylan Thomas, in the Breeders' Cup Turf at Monmouth Park.
As an aside, I was at that Breeders' Cup at Monmouth Park, and it was one of the first times that you kind of look at Lone Star as maybe a smaller racetrack, Monmouth getting their chance and kind of paving the way to just show that you could be functional in a very similar situation as Keeneland. And then the weather changed it all. They were so excited for that Breeders' Cup. I was there 2 weeks out. It would have been phenomenal with better weather, but then we had championship performances like that. But I thought Monmouth did a fantastic job that year under trying circumstances with the weather. The weather is going to be perfect here at Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup. Clear skies, and we are going to have perfect conditions. The track maintenance supervisor telling us that the turf course is going to be listed as firm as early as this Friday for Future Stars Friday, so that bodes well for Saturday. And as we take a look at the field for the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf, Simon, when we talk about horses coming from overseas, I think it's quite a gesture that Magical is here.
Oh, you got that right. I mean, the last time we saw her in the United States was in 2018. Remember that great matchup with Enable in the stretch run of the Breeders' Cup Turf at Churchill Downs? I mean, it was just a tremendous, tremendous race. And the one thing about her, I mean, she's a 5-year-old mare, but she barely gets the. She spends most of her time again, including in the Irish Champion Stakes. A couple tracks where they send her. And she is making a 27th career lifetime start in the Breeders' Cup. She's only been off the board 5 times, and she's made over $5 million. Major threat in the Breeders' Cup Turf.
The great trainer Dermot Weld sends out Tarnawa, a Group 1 winner, back-to-back Group 1 winner at Longchamp.
Yeah, now the good thing about her is her versatility over different ground conditions, right? She won the Prix Vermeil, that's a major one of the major preps for ARC weekend, and that was over firm ground, and she came right back in the Prix de l'Opera and won on soft ground. She is a filly that's going to love every yard of the 1.5-mile distance. She's, nobody better than traveling horses around the world than Dermot Weld. I mean, he was one of the first to do it from a European standpoint. And I mean, again, this is a much deeper group in here than they've bought for the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Then there is United, the best that you'd have to say America has to offer, and he's giving his best right now for trainer Dick Mandella. In fact, Dick Mandella, following this effort in the John Henry Turf Championship, essentially threw down the gauntlet and said they're really going to have to run to beat him. Horses this year at 51 this race, and finishing second, beating ahead to eventual Horse of the Year Bricks and Mortar. What do you think of United in this year's Breeders' Cup?
He's never been outside of California, right? I mean, that's going to be the question mark. He handles those, kind firmer California tracks, Del Mar. So we have that out here. He really hasn't shit. He's doing exceptionally well. You can see him moving here. We saw his work earlier on this week on breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Now he's just doing tremendously well. And when Richard Mandella,
presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund, and as we look through this field, big field here in this race, we're going to tell you about a phenomenal contest, a chance for you to win $1 million, putting your handicapping prowess on display here. But let's talk individually about some horses in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by the PDJF. And Uni would have to go first as she's back to try and defend her win last year in this race.
Yeah, she's got the outside post. She was drawn post 9 of 13 last year. That has no impact on her running style here. I know, it's a very short run into the first turn at Keeneland with the Breeders' Cup Mile, but the way she runs, she comes from off the pace and she just relishes that late turn of foot. She's got that big explosive kick here. And yeah, I mean, she's doing well. She finally came to hand in a most recent start. I mean, obviously, if this Breeders' Cup was 3 months ago, should be a much bigger price than what she is on the morning line right now. But, by virtue of that win in the First Lady, she comes in touting herself that she's back in form.
Some eyebrows were raised at the post position draw when they announced the morning line for this race. The favorite, Ivar. Ivar, yes, did have a signature win last time out in the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile, but he was 14-1 with that win. They took the blinkers off. It was impressive. He beat some of the horses he's facing here in this race this time around with Raging Bull. Like I said, impressive move, but favorite in this race, Simon?
No, that's crazy. He won't be on Saturday. I don't see that happening. Yeah, visually very impressive. Kind of new tactics last time. Took him off the pace after having been close to the lead in a couple of starts, but he shouldn't be that short of a price. There are other horses in here with greater accomplishments.
And as we look at this field, you need to start to consider how they're going to finish in exact order. It's a free shot at $1 million to celebrate. FanDuel, the parent company of TVG, as the sponsor of the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. We're giving you a shot at $1 million for free. Pick the perfect final order, 1 through 12, and walk away with $1 million, or share with someone else who pulls that off. And as far as celebrating the Breeders' Cup, we wish fans were here. As has been established, they cannot be here this year, but we're thinking of you, and there's so many ways to participate from home, including getting dressed up for the Breeders' Cup with the Longines Prize for Elegance. And this is not only you getting dressed up for the Breeders' Cup, but how about showing us a previous picture when you went to the races? Get dressed up or use a throwback pic of when you dressed up at the races. Post it to Instagram or Twitter with the hashtag #MyBreedersCup, and then make sure you tag at Longines, because it is a contest that will close on Breeders' Cup Saturday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. The judging panel will release their winners after 4 o'clock Eastern Time, and the most fashionable female and the most fashionable male each will get a Longines timepiece. It is the Longines Prize for Elegance. And with so many fans at home this year and wagering through the TVG app, how about the Breeders' Cup home experience? All what you need to get ready to celebrate 2 championship days of racing. Go to breederscup.com/@home. Back out here at Keeneland Racecourse, preparing for the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. Caton, it's sitting on go.
So, trained by Dale Romans, he has been over at Churchill most of the way, and shipped over a couple days ago. He's an interesting horse. I don't know quite how to gauge him as far as where he fits with the rest of the 2-year-olds, but his most recent effort was really scrappy. I just thought he showed some tenacity and competitiveness. And in the morning, right now, you can see he's kind of the same way, which is he's a scrapper. He likes to go. He likes to fight. I think he's aptly named. And Simon, I think he is actually going to run a really pretty good race. It's just a matter of where he fits with the rest of the 2-year-olds. But I really love his tenacity.
Yeah, I do. It's the second time I've seen him this week, and like you said, he's aptly named. He looks to be just that. Got the figure 8 nose band on across the bridge of his nose there, just to keep his mouth closed, tongue under the bit. And you can see he's got a nice shine to his coat. That would tell us that these, horses, I always say, tell us on the outside how they're feeling on the inside, and he looks great on the outside. The question is the 2 turns. I don't think that's an issue, but I think he's going to run a big one. I really do. I think he's literally sitting on go.
Yeah, with his stretch run, if he can replicate it around 2 turns, and there's going to be plenty of pace on in the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile presented by the TAA, sitting on go will be a factor, as Simon pointed out. Joaquin?
Hall of Famer Richard Mandella has made it in town for the Breeders' Cup. 2 chances this year for you, Richard, with Bombard and then United in the Turf. Let's start with your turf sprinter, though, in Bombard. What'd you take from his race over at Kentucky Downs last out?
Ran a really good race, and all of his sprints have been very good quality, I think. And I think he deserves this chance. He's just doing great.
And then you have United in the Breeders' Cup Turf this year again. Since you've had him in your care, he hasn't raced outside of California for you. I know he's gone to Dubai and then flipped a U-turn and then came back. How has he settled in here for you now traveling to Kentucky?
Well, good. We got the schooling in, taking him to Dubai and teaching him how to travel. And he thinks this is just another trip. They both seem very happy.
What did both of these horses do on the track this morning for you?
Just galloped. United probably went 1.5 miles, and the other one went about 1.25 miles.
You have a bit more eyes on you with United in the Turf this year. You're not 50-1. How has United maybe changed it all from the Breeders' Cup Turf last year to how he's coming into the Breeders' Cup Turf this year for you?
I think if you look at his races, you just see that he's getting a little more professional and versatile. And, the other day we went to the lead and he enjoyed that. So it's nice to have a horse you can go either way with.
Good luck in the Breeders' Cup this year to you.
Thank you.
Well, he's going to have a little birthday luck tomorrow. Longines Breeders' Cup Turf. You have a chance to win some Breeders' Cup merch. We always have the swag grab when you go to the Breeders' Cup. For me, it involves getting a hold of Peter Rotundo at the Breeders' Cup and saying, can I get your employee discount? Well, how about the best discount of all is free, and you can do that right now. Every day through Championship Saturday, play the hashtag MyBreedersCup merch scratch-off game to see if you are a lucky winner. You just go to breederscup.com, and with the scratch-off, if you don't win, well, you can visit the breederscupshop.com and treat yourself. And Breeders' Cup thinking about you, the fans who cannot be here, and giving away 5 items every day through Championship Saturday. Play the hashtag MyBreedersCup merch scratch-off game at breederscup.com. We got much more coming up when we return here on TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland.
The return of Sunday Silence.
Sunday Silence surges to the front. It's Yoshida in front. Yoshida takes charge at the top of the stretch, and Yoshida wins the Turf Classic.
Here comes Yoshida, storming home in the center with Gunnevera. Yoshida! Yoshida has won the one-word.
The perfect balance. Yoshida.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken Rudolph with your Lanes and Farm Weekly Preview. Watch the Breeders' Cup races on TVG and TVG.com. Early Friday, start with Keeneland's undercard leading into the Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday. Then, on Championship Saturday, it's going to be so epic. Load up your account and fire away. Make sure to watch all the great racing action and wager with TVG.
TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
There are so many advantages to being a TVG account holder, and here is one of those examples. The money back special offered on the Breeders' Cup. All races, that's all races at Keeneland, including those undercard races this Friday and this Saturday. Remember, as a TVG account holder, you've got to opt in. Details at tvg.com/promos. Let's check in with Gabby Gaudet.
Yes, I'm standing by Grand Motion. We can hear you a little bit. I'm going to try to get as close as possible. But you got here when yesterday. How was the trip out here from Maryland?
Yeah, so it was a little long. We drove this time, which is kind of unusual for us, but it's an unusual year, so.
How was that? And how long was it? You and Anita? Was that it?
Yeah, Anita and I in the RV. It took us about 10 hours, actually.
Well, that's not so bad. But you are here, and you're watching your horses train. What could you tell us about Mean Mary and just essentially the year, especially that she has had?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think I could have predicted the year she's had. She's been phenomenal, really. And she puts so much into her races. That was kind of why I didn't want to run her in one of the close preps. I wanted to give her plenty of time to get over the Diana, because she just lays it on the table when she runs, I think.
She absolutely does. Invincible Gal is on track. I'm going to try to let you get to watch her train as she is coming around the turn. How could you describe this filly?
Yeah, so I'm glad to see she's a little more settled today. Yesterday she was quite on the muscle. She is kind of a nervous energy type filly, but she really hasn't done much wrong. You know, last time she ran at Pimlico, it was really soft that day, and she kind of did most of the running on what was ground softer than we normally run on, let's face it.
What about Alda?
You know, she also hasn't done much wrong. I think possibly she bounced a little bit when we ran her back in the Natalma. She ran such a big race in the prep for the Natalma. But it gave her lots of time to get over it to come here today. So I feel really good about both of them.
All right, before I let you go, what's on the radio when you make a 10-hour trip in the car with Anita?
Well, as you can imagine, with what went on last night, it was a lot of politics. But, it was a good trip, a lot of quality time, so it was good.
All right, good quality time. We won't get into the political conversation, Todd, though, as we send it back to you.
That's why I like to go to the racetrack. The outside world doesn't exist. Protect me from the outside world. Love being here at Keeneland, and the Breeders' Cup returns for the second time to Keeneland Racecourse. The first time was in 2015. And when you talk about unique racetracks, boutique meets, as Simon calls them, you have Del Mar, you have Keeneland, and you have Saratoga. It was Del Mar who got their first chance to host the Breeders' Cup in 2017. We'll be going back there next year in 2021. But in that first Breeders' Cup Classic at Del Mar, it was Gunrunner who put on a show.
They're all in line. We are ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Arrowgate broke to his left coming onto the starting gate. Not a good beginning for him, but a great one for Gunrunner and Collected. These two will go out for the early lead together, and a crush of horses trying to get position behind them. Mutasaabeq, Churchill, and on the outside West Coast. And then it's Pavel right behind them. Then it's War Story. Arrowgate, who on the left coming out of the gate, is racing about 10 lengths off the lead with a lap to go. He's alongside of Gunavera. After that, it's War Decree and Win the Space. So Gunrunner will get ahead of Collected early on here. That first quarter mile was a taxing 22.50 seconds. And with 7 furlongs to run, Florent Giroux and Gunrunner lead it by a length. Collected in Martin Garcia second on the outside. Churchill is third. And then it's West Coast running in fourth. Mutasaabeq is fifth by 2. Pavel is sixth. Arrowgate is down on the inside of War Story onto the backstretch. Mike Smith trying to find a good spot with him. He's 8 lengths off the lead after a 46.31 half mile. Then Gunnevera and War Decree, and far behind is Win the Space. So they go up the backstretch in the Breeders' Cup Classic at Del Mar. And Gunrunner and Collected are 1-2. And Arrowgate is near the back of the field. Mike Smith trying to urge him. He's still about 8 lengths behind. Racing for the far turn, Gunrunner the leader. On the outside, Collected has been battling him the whole way. 3/4 up at 1:10.50 seconds. West Coast is now 4 lengths off the lead and being ridden by Javier Castellano. War Story is fourth under a drive. Arrowgate's going to take the far outside route. He's coming up on the outside of Gunnevera, but he's a long way behind Gunrunner and Collected as they make their way to the top of the stretch in the Breeders' Cup Classic. They're into the stretch, and it's Collected and Gunrunner. They've been battling since the gates opened. Gunrunner's got the lead. Collected, West Coast is bearing down on them on the outside. Final 16th. Gunrunner reaching for the wire. Collected's alongside, and then comes West Coast and War Story. But Gunrunner's on top of the world. He wins the Breeders' Cup Classic over Collected. Then came West Coast, followed by War Story. Arrowgate was coming late, but too late. The final time was 2 minutes 1.29 seconds.
And our own Caton Bradar was obviously thrilled by that result as Gunrunner, ridden by Florent Giroux. And as we've talked about, Caton, your husband Doug is the jockey agent for Florent. And then you also had the Pegasus Cup in there. There is that one horse that will always stand out. Florent's ridden a lot of good ones, but Gunrunner manages to stand out.
Indeed, I'm sure for Steve Asmussen, for Florent, I know for sure. And for me and our family personally, Gunrunner was a horse of a lifetime. I remember, too, watching that race. Going into it, it was interesting, Todd, that a lot of people felt or still questioned whether he would be at his very best at 1.25 miles. We didn't have any questions about it, but you always wonder if you're kind of being blinded by being so close to the situation. So when he did cross the finish line, and in fact, throughout the entire race, I was actually on the set for the Players Show. Our executive producer, Kevin Grigsby, was in the production truck that day, and he said he never saw a person shake as much as I did while I was watching that race unfold. I was so nervous, and I was so happy. And everyone was the same. It was like a dream come true. And I know while there are very few gun runners, all the horses in the Breeders' Cup this year, and for all their connections, particularly the winners, it will be a similar out-of-body experience, I am certain.
Well, and he does remind us yet again, if you give a horse beyond their 3-year-old season, they can reach their full potential, and he certainly did. We were privileged to see him. And the Breeders' Cup Classic this year is going to be a privilege to watch and wager on. All indications are that it is going to be one of the best in recent memory with the depth of the field. So it is time for our Breeders' Cup Classic report, and taking a look at the field in here. The morning line favorite is Improbable at 5-2. And Christina starts us off, as you have been following, obviously, the Bob Baffert horses very closely for this race.
Indeed, Todd, and I love hearing Caton relive those moments with Gunrunner. Certainly a horse of a lifetime, and as she echoes those sentiments, horses of a lifetime for everybody this year competing in the Breeders' Cup. So as far as the Southern California Classic horses go, as we told you, they did ship in yesterday. They were just slightly delayed in terms of the timing, but still got here in good order and with plenty of daylight left for the evening hours. Improbable was the first of Bob Baffert's horses to go out, just kind of went straight off, went off for a gallop today. Things going well for him. Maximum Security was the next one from Bob Baffert's barn. He went out at about 8 o'clock. Same thing for him, a good strong gallop. And then Authentic going out last of the group when it's a little bit quieter. He is a horse, as Bob noted to us, that can kind of look around a little bit and gets feeling a little fresh. So as it's later in the morning, the track would be quieter. That would be a more suitable time for him to train. We were speculating a little bit earlier as far as tactics go. I do think Authentic is going to go to the lead. I think that just in conversations over the last week or so, kind of feeling out how he runs his best races from the connections, I think that will end up being the plan as far as the tactics go for Authentic, and the others follow in behind. Joaquin, how about you as far as other classic horses this year?
Well, staying in the Southern California area, Christina, Higher Power, he's one that has been here very early, as far as fact as early as October. About October 4th, he got here for trainer John Sadler. Today, he went to the track and did some gate schooling once again. He's had slow breaks. That's been a bit of an issue for Higher Power as well. Then he had a gallop earlier this morning. So he has 5 workouts over this Keeneland surface in preparation for the Breeders' Cup Classic this year. And the reason he came here early, all by design, because the last time the Higher Power shipped outside of the state to Florida, he didn't run very well in the Pegasus World Cup. He didn't ship in well. He didn't run well. So they're trying to eliminate at least that for the Breeders' Cup Classic this year. That is why Higher Power came in and got settled early. So it looks like that's at least not going to be an excuse for Higher Power this year for trainer John Sadler, who's looking for his 2nd Breeders' Cup win. Scott?
Yeah, another horse that's been here for some time is Tacitus. We continue to see him each and every morning. He has not missed a beat since his workout 3 days ago, as he came out early for trainer Bill Mott and Judd Mott International, as he looks for that Grade 1 victory, that elusive Grade 1 victory, the gray son of Tappet, as we see him coming down the path, heading back to the barn over on Rice Road after his gallop this morning. So it's good that we see him out. That's always a positive sign. When they don't come out, that's when you start to at least raise a red flag to yourself in covering these horses, but he has not missed a beat in coming out. One horse we've yet to see is Global Campaign, the Grade 1 winner for Windstar and Sagamore Farm. He'll actually ship over here this morning, Gabby Gaudet, and we'll get our first chance to see him over this Keeneland main track, scheduled to train tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
Looking forward to that, Scott. Yes, I reported earlier that the cutoff time is 10 a.m. So all of those horses coming in from Churchill have to be here that are running Saturday, have to be here at 10 a.m. So all horses will be on the grounds for the training tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing Title ready as well for trainer Dallas Stewart. But I did get the opportunity to see Tiz the Law once again here this morning under Heather Smullen, and he looks good. I mention this every day. There's nothing really shocking to report with regard to Tiz the Law. He's been here for the past several weeks. He's really maintained in the morning as well. I mentioned that he was especially sharp 2 days ago. Today, in my opinion, from what I saw on the track, he looked a little bit more settled. Talking to Heather, they will be paddock schooling him later today around 10 a.m. as well, but he did gallop 1.5 miles, and I would imagine he's going to do that as well tomorrow for trainer Barkley Tagg. But with more on the Classic division, we check in with Kate and Brader.
Gabby, echoing yours and Scott's thoughts about your Classic contender shipping over from Churchill, so too did my two. By my standards, for Brett Calhoun, went early this morning, did the same as he has the last few days, and then boarded the band, is due in at Keeneland shortly. As for the horse for Al Stahl that is looking to follow in the footsteps of Breeders' Cup Classic winner Blame, Tom's d'Etat also trained early. He's in that same group of horses that are set to arrive any time now. Both horses will take to the track at Keeneland tomorrow, in all likelihood early, although in the case of Tom's d'Etat, he is a horse who typically trains early, but Al has been sending him at the 7:30 break that was designated for Breeders' Cup horses while there were still Breeders' Cup horses over at Churchill Downs. So I'm not sure whether he will opt to keep him in that early routine or wait until the sun comes up a little bit more and it gets a little bit warmer. But either way, we will look forward to seeing Tom's d'Etat, who takes a lot of time out on the racetrack. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to see him, Todd.
Also coming over from Churchill Downs is By My Standards. And Simon, this horse has had some very quick workouts in the mornings.
He did. Very, very quick workouts. 5 furlongs, 58 and change, 59 and change. But when you look at the workout, that's why I say, you know, time is only a portion and a fraction of analyzing these horses. When you look at the ease with which he did it, I mean, this truly is 5 furlongs, 59 and change galloping. I mean, he's looked tremendous. I mean, absolutely tremendous this week. I mean, of course, the big question mark, I guess, is still the 1.25 miles. He is yet to have gone that far. And on pedigree, you look at face value, he's by Golden Sense, a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner out of a Mutasaabeq mare. When I think of Mutasaabeq, I think 5 furlongs fast on the main track, and that's what I'm seeing here. But it's, you know, under no duress whatsoever. I mean, look at this. This is just a phenomenal work, a textbook work. and I would use the term galloping. This is one of those when the old cliche, you know, I watched him work and then I looked down at the watch and couldn't believe how fast he was going. Good horses are very deceptive to the eye, and that's a mark of a good horse, in my opinion. Those up-tempo, quick-paced workers, when they work like that and you don't think they're going that fast when you're looking at them visually, then go ahead and look at the clock. They're usually very good horses. I think he's going to run a huge race. It's just how much will that last eighth of a mile find him out here going 1.25 miles?
By my standards, in position to pull off an upset in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. It might be one of the best editions of Cocktails and Conversation, and that's saying something because there has been some great episodes over this past year, and usually it's one or two guests. This is a loaded show, and it's happening today at 7:30 Eastern Time on Breeders' Cup Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Some of the top trainers that will have an impact on the Breeders' Cup. Several guests today joined Brittany Urton and Nick Luck for Cocktails and Conversation later today, 7:30 Eastern Time. Back here at the track, Christina Blacker checking out the gift shop. I know there were some discounts earlier today on some of the Breeders' Cup stuff, but what a great selection they have there, Christina.
It is, Todd. It's certainly a wonderful selection. And you mentioned the contests and just the opportunities to go online and maybe get an extra discount there as well. You can also go to breederscupshop.com to order any of the merchandise. So I wanted to take a little look and show you a few of these items. We have quite a good selection of hoodies. It has been chilly hoodie sweatshirts, crew neck, whatever you prefer. Some smaller sizes, some trendier kind of crop hoodies available as well for the ladies. Maybe get over your workout attire. And then we'll come back this direction. You have some of those smaller items that you might want to have just in your home. Nice little mug for your coffee, for your tea, the keychains. I love this gold one down here too, Miles. I don't know if you can get or look down. That's kind of the classic, the gold with the purple Breeders' Cup logo on it. And then if we head down this way, bear with me, we're just going to keep walking through. This is just outside the paddock, so we've been showing you horses from the paddock all morning here on the show. Just to the other side of that, you'll see the rest of this merchandise. So on this side, the Barber, the Cheval collections, you'll see the nice men's Barber jackets. This is the wax jacket, the male equivalent of the one I'm wearing, waterproof. This is a great item if you have a minute. Few plaid, I think these are for your dogs, dog collars and leashes. A lot of pups out here seeing the horses train as well. And then it really wouldn't be sort of an equestrian event without some vests, right? You got to get the vest, everybody in their vest, whether it's under their coats or not. Breeders' Cup bags, they started these in the last couple of seasons. This is kind of what the swag bags will be filled with for the connections. They'll go home with a few of those. Oh, and Miles, before we go, let's get a shot of these. The ties, if you need some race day attire, the ladies' scarves. This is kind of a staple in the Keeneland gift shop too. You'll see a lot of those scarves. These are more of the Cheval and the Barber items this year. Get a good shot of that. Mom, this is going to be your Christmas present if you're watching. And then some items for your home as well. So there's beautiful pillows. They had these at last year's Breeders' Cup. I remember seeing them at Santa Anita, the wool blankets. Very, very warm. Christmas ornaments for your tree. That's new. I haven't seen the ornaments yet. There's a package of hats that you can purchase online as well. So you'll see a couple of those here. I think you get 5 hats for $50, I want to say. So that's always a great one to kind of pick up some good stocking stuffers for the family. There's a lot to take in here, Todd. The selection is going to be tough. I want it all, and especially with that discount online, breederscupshop.com. Might do a little Christmas shopping before we head home here, too.
Yeah, think about that. That's not that far away. It's about 2 months away, and if you have a horse racing fan in the family, they're going to love what the Breeders' Cup shop has to offer. And in this day and age, how about even personal protection equipment? There's masks, Breeders' Cup masks that you can have. Check it all out at breederscupshop.com. Joaquin Jaime has checked in on trainer Carlos Martin earlier this week, and now he takes us up close and personal about the feed in Carlos Martin's barn.
All right, back here with trainer Carlos Martin as we get set for feed time for his Breeders' Cup runner, and that is going to be the filly Come Dancing in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. So we're mixing it up here, Carlos. So what's exactly happening? What does she eat?
Right now, Macario Bravo has been with us about 28 years since I first started. He's been great part of the team. He's getting her some Jockey Club premium feed, and we mix it with some oats. So you have a little bit of everything with the Jockey Club. It's a complete feed, but we've been mixing it with oats, old school style. So we get 2 parts of the Jockey Club, and we mix it with the oats, and then she'll get the similar ration a little bit more this afternoon. And then basically we're cutting up some carrots. She loves carrots. So we mix the oats with the Jockey Club complete feed, and the Jockey Club feed is beet pulp. It's got some sweet feed, some protein and electrolytes, and then that's the breakfast for her. We'll cut up some carrots, and she gets a little vitamins C and K just to keep her in the immune system build up with the wintry season, and she really enjoys her feed time. That's for sure. You'll see her come right to the front, and then we'll cut up some carrots here.
I mean, this is quite the concoction. Is this something that's specific to her, or do all your horses pretty much eat the exact same thing here?
No, we pretty much have a set ration in the morning and the afternoon, depending on how the horses are training or what, if they're in racing shape, or some horses coming off the farm might get a little less. Every horse, we feed them a little bit differently. It just goes, we try to treat them each as individuals and see what works for them. Some of them are finicky eaters, some of them you got to give them a little bit less, and then you split up their feeds. Instead of twice a day, you might feed them 3 times a day. Some of them you might have to put a little molasses. Some of them you might have to put a little bit less of one or the other as you see them, as you pay attention to them every day, and then you try to tailor your program to what makes them happiest.
Actually, you mentioned that you sort of just treat them as individuals. That looks like a lot of feed to me. Does she eat more than some of the other horses?
Well, she's probably over 1,000 pounds. She's a big girl, so she definitely gets fed now, getting ready for the Breeders' Cup as much as she'll eat. She's always been a tall, kind of skinny glass of water, and she's a good doer. So we try to, keep her weight on as best as we can.
All right, so tell me just a little bit about her personally. We could look at her past performances and look at her racing career, know she's a Grade 1 winner. What do you know about her that we don't know since you've been with her, since she's been a 2-year-old?
Well, I mean, she's just always been so classy and so giving in everything she does. She's just been a joy to work with. She's the kind of filly that after a couple of spins in the shed row, you have to get her out to the track because she's so high energy. And you just get to know her quirks and what works for her. But basically, Come Dancing tells us what to do, and we just try to stay out of her way. She's been a great horse for the team, for Blue Devil, for Mark and James, and the whole Martin family. We're really proud of her.
So you mentioned that this is going to be her final career start. She's going to be retired after this. Have you thought about what life is going to be like for you after she leaves your barn?
It's going to be an emotional day for us, I'm sure. She's meant so much to us, so it's going to be a void, but hopefully we'll get to visit her, and Mark and Blue Devil and James and Cherie. Everybody says we're going to have some nice Come Dancing babies, so we look forward to the next chapter, of her career and her life, and we're proud that we're able to get her to this point, to another Breeders' Cup, and hopefully safe and sound, and she'll ride off into the sunset with a storybook ending.
So just getting some carrots before she actually jumps into her feed tub here. Is this sort of the time that you cherish with her right here, this particular moment?
Yeah, I mean, she's always been so special for us. Any moment with her is always an adventure. We always get along well together. But she tells me when she doesn't want me to mess with her too much, she'll give me a little headbutt and say, "Get out of my way now." So we've gotten to know each other pretty good over the years.
Well, Carlos, thank you for letting us spend the morning with you, and good luck with Come Dancing in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
Thanks so much, Joaquin.
Okay, while we're away during that, for the most part, it has been a very quiet week. There haven't been any significant defections as far as the Breeders' Cup races. That has just changed. Gabby Gaudet just texted me, Vacoma, your favorite for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, will be scratched due to a high temperature. This is a developing story. We are efforting to talk to his connections, but the word just breaking, Vacoma scratched due to a high temperature, major horse out. of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, your Run Happy Met Mile winner. Equilateral is out on the track, and there's an example. You can get a scratch out of a body of a race, and if you're also eligible, you get in. Equilateral is the first horse waiting to get in to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and we have a jockey camera aboard Equilateral to follow this horse out on the track today. And the turf course just opened up. Here's Equilateral going over it. So 2 perspectives, our camera and then the camera that is aboard the jockey. And Simon, we've been talking a lot about this turf course, how much rain it had had over the previous week, and now we're getting a stretch here where it's dry and it's going to remain that way. So talk about Equilateral, but also give us an idea of what you're seeing, how this turf course looks.
Well, you can tell he's a sprinter, right? He's very aggressive European horse coming in here. I mean, look, he's an old warrior, 5-year-old making his 23rd start. The question for me during the race, obviously he handles the turn well there, but for these European sprinters, whoop, he came up and close heels there. You get the jockey's eye view there on the left of the screen, how close he was just getting in contact with that other horse there, but the rider doing a great job just gearing him down. But the point I was trying to make is these European sprinters, Todd, are only used to going on a straightaways in sprint races in Europe. 5 and 6 furlongs, they do not encounter a turn or a bend, as they like to call it, and that comes up very, very quickly. And if you're drawn to the outside, you can often see these European horses get flung to the outside and lose all chance there. That's a big, big obstacle for these Euros to overcome in the sprint race, and he's proving a handful to pull up here. He's just feeling good, that's all.
Kate, you know this turf course very well. How's it recovering from all the rain it received a little over a week ago?
Really, it's remarkable how much it has dried out, I think, since all the rain we had. When I was watching to see how much was being kicked up, you didn't really see a lot of divots. I did think it was interesting to note where the cones were placed on the course, and right now Equilateral is toward the outside of the course, but you can see there some cones to the inside, and typically the request is that the horses stay in between the cones, but I kind of think that he's been so strong that the rider is choosing to keep him to the outside. It may be that they have been instructed to stay outside of the cones completely, but it looks as if he's back more in between, and I think it's just a little bit unfamiliarity with the turf course, the placement of the cones. They've been strategically placed by the track crew to try to give a good path for horses to get to train over, but also to make sure that the same part of the turf course isn't getting used every single day for the turf works, and that the inside-most part of the course remains untouched as long as possible up until race time. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher to keep those horses between the cones. As you can see, Equilateral has kind of drifted back to the outside. That also might be a product of the bends or the turns as well, but I think the outrider may come out to assist the rider here, as Equilateral may be a sprinter, but he's going all day at a pretty steady clip. The minute he saw that horse that he came so close to between the cones that Simon alluded to, Todd, he really got charged up and into race mode. You could see him zoom in on the horse and then lengthen his stride and kind of take off at that point.
He needs a scratch to get in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint on Saturday, but Equilateral preparing nonetheless, and a little adventurous there towards the end. We hope you enjoyed that ride aboard Equilateral with our jockey helmet cam. Now taking a look at glass slippers. Simon, what can you tell us about the form of glass slippers overseas?
Well, dating back a year, he's been very solid, hard-knocking sprinter. He won the Prix de l'Abbé last year. That's the premier 5-furlong sprint art weekend. It's actually conducted in the middle of the race course to accommodate the straightaway, what I'm talking about, 5 furlongs. He came back, was second in it this year. His 2 performances this year, when he didn't win, he was facing Battash, who we've known as one of the best sprinters on the turf in Europe the last couple of years. So he was beaten by a very, very good horse in Battash. And again, I think he probably needs to just step it up a little bit here. I think historically, it's a tough race to come into. I know, they've brought this race forward for European participation, putting it on the grass for years. We didn't have a Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, but I think it's a tough uphill climb for the Europeans, 1 with the gate break and 2 with the turns there, but a more professional looking horse here. I mean, she's a 4-year-old filly. She seems to be thriving. Sometimes these Euros tail off at the end of their racing season, but compared to what we've just seen with the previous horse here, much more professional effort, and they don't worry about lead changes too much here, but she's moving very, very sweetly, very fluidly over the turf course here.
Glass Slippers, daughter of Dream Ahead out of the Mind Games mare Night Gypsy, was bred in Her Majesty's Kingdom, Great Britain, and the girls often race against the boys on the turf overseas, and certainly Glass Slippers has done that. Got Stormy, a 5-year-old mare, will be the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Staying out on the turf course here and taking a look at Arklow. Caton, Brad Cox could have named any number of horses, as when you asked him a pointed question at Churchill Downs earlier this week, who's doing best, I was surprised he said Arklow. But again, it's on the individual case, and Arklow, he felt, is looking the best that he's ever been, Caton.
I know we're going to go to Gabby, but I do want to make a comment about Arklow. He has been training extremely well. I'll be interested to see if Brad Cox schools him in the gate, because he draws the inside post position, and even though he's 6 and very experienced, gate has been his soft spot. He has had a lot of trouble at the gate. He just gets very obstinate, and the blinkers haven't seemed to make a difference. So I'm curious to find out if he ends up schooling in the gate before it's all said and done. Let's check in with Gabby.
Caton, thank you. And here is Jamie Insel, who is aboard Equilateral. Jamie, a little tough out there today, huh?
Yeah, he's keen. He's fresh, and he's not used to them American horses coming down his inside. So once one of them came down, it lights him up. And he's just not used to it yet out here, but he's definitely well and crushing himself.
I mean, how hard is that sometimes for European horses, not only to acclimate to how training goes in the morning, but also the turns, everything that goes on here?
Yeah, definitely. Well, today we just wanted to get him out on the grass, obviously practicing the turns. The cones are a bit wider than what they would be on race day, but it's good to get him his experience. But at home, like, this horse is trained on his own, doesn't really see another horse, doesn't gallop with another horse. So to come out here and have horses pass him, it puts him in race mode a bit.
And in a string of horses, right? I mean, how different is that? Usually you gallop in company with other horses and you're kind of in between them, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, normally, but like this horse, he's quite keen at home, so he just does everything on his own.
Okay.
He wouldn't normally see another horse. So coming out here is a bit different for him.
Well, we are breaking up on the mic, but thank you, Jamie, for the time, and we'll send it back to you, Todd. Of course, I think the plan was to go one lap on the main track and then obviously go one lap on the turf course, and he just got tough. I mean, sometimes it is a little bit harder for certain horses to acclimate to how we do things here.
And Simon, do you think, and again, we're talking about some of these international riders, they do ride all over the world, but Keeneland has its own unique challenges on this turf course. Is this a turf course that's conducive to, say, a European style of riding?
I think it's, the turns are, it's just the turns. I mean, we see Europeans come to all these American racetracks and have success. And I think, if the horse is good enough and the rider's established, well polished, been here before, I think, I think there's no issues with it. I think particularly, though, in this division, I think the sprint division, it makes it a little tougher, the turns there. The training is sometimes harder than the racing, to what the exercise rider Jamie alluded to there. A lot of these horses train at a training center. They don't train at a track with, lots of action, horses coming at them, passing them, horses pulling up, like we saw in the jockey cam. That's exactly what happened. He saw that other horse and got aggressive, and they have a much, wider open spaces, a more relaxed and quiet environment. The training is specifically a little harder, I think, coming in from Europe than the actual racing.
So much preparation has gone into getting to the Breeders' Cup. So imagine being just about 72 hours out from your Breeders' Cup championship moment. You train one of the favorites in their race, and now they have to be scratched. George Weaver knows that feeling, because it was just announced Vacoma will not go in the Breeders' Cup sprint as the morning line favorite. Standing by with him, Joaquin Jaime.
George, unfortunately, we didn't see Vacoma out on the racetrack today for you. What happened with him?
Last night, the horse spiked a fever on us, and we needed to treat him with the doctor. The veterinarian treated him last night, and he just wasn't fit to go train today. And being this close to the race, he's not fit to run either, so we're not going to be able to participate.
I know it's been a tough week before. You had some travel problems trying to get here, and of course now you unfortunately have to scratch. How do you describe this last 7 days of how things have gone for Vacoma and you?
Well, I was happy with everything until we got the news he had a temp last night and we had to treat him. The horse has been doing fantastic, and it almost felt like it was destiny for him to run this race and put a crown on this year's achievements. Very disappointed, but I'm glad that the horse is going to be okay, and we're looking forward to seeing his second career.
Well, I know he is scheduled to stand at Spendthrift Farm as a stallion. Is he going to be retired now, or will he have maybe one more race within 2020?
We'll talk with the people at Spendthrift there, you know what I mean, if they want to take a shot at something else, but it'll be up to them.
All right, I'm sorry about the news, George. I know you still have some other runners, so good luck in the Breeders' Cup.
Thank you very much.
If you saw our interviews with George Weaver earlier in the week, it was a much different mood. Simon, the fact that he got in front of the camera like that and talked to us is great credit to him, but he can't hide the disappointment.
No, I mean, it's just, look, you can't imagine the work that goes on behind the scenes. On these shows the last several days, we tried to bring you a snapshot, but this is just, 4 or 5 days. You're going back a year, and this horse has obviously been difficult to train. He's had some layoff lines, and George has done a great job. And for it to go by the wayside just because of a fever is just, it's heartbreaking because, it's something that the horse is going to recover from. Probably in 2 to 3 weeks will be fine, but they had to treat him. The fever was obviously going in the wrong direction. And it's something that can happen with horses shipping. They are vulnerable to what we call shipping fever. Bob Baffert touched on it. Once all the work is done, he goes, you put them on a plane, but they're all susceptible to that fever. And unfortunately, that's what's happened here.
Yeah, that was something we were talking about earlier in the week. I was saying that it's been a quiet week, and our producer, Becky Witzman, said to me, well, some of the horses haven't shipped yet, and that's when the problems can happen. So that shipping fever you talked about could also tie into that. But in the end, Vacoma not going to go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. We have more coming up here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by Windstar Farm and Keeneland.
It's not how we fly, but how we fall that separates the pioneer spirit from the rest. This is what's remembered, what remains, when all else has been stripped away.
A Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf, War of Will became a classic winner with this victory in the Preakness Stakes. This year, he added turf credentials to his resume with a determined victory in the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, a winner and Grade 1 placed at 2, multiple graded stakes victor at 3, and Grade 1 winner again at 4. This son of War Front has proven his class at every level. A classic winner with a stallion's pedigree. War of Will, standing in 2021 at Claiborne Farm.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built power-foil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. Big-ass fans, exceptionally engineered.
What could be better than standing 1 Triple Crown winner? Standing 2.
Here comes American Pharaoh. Justify turning for home in front. And American Pharaoh has pulled. Justify. He's unstoppable. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharaoh. Justify has won the Triple Crown.
Coolmore, America, home of Triple Crown champions.
Introducing the Equibase app with all new features, including Smart Pick, smart handicapping made easy. Choose your track, choose your race, and then go to Smart Pick. Select your level of risk, the size of your wager, and which of these 3 strategies you want to emphasize. Smart Pick will then tailor your very own selection and bet amount. It couldn't be easier. Smart Pick, one of the exciting new features in the Equibase app. Download it free of charge today.
Honor AP showed a lot of talent in the sense that he got over the ground really nicely.
with a huge stride, a length of stride you can't believe. And then you look down at the stopwatch and you go, oh my gosh, he actually did that? I think Honor AP was the most talented of the 3-year-old colts that I had, with Giacomo, Tiago, AP Warrior. This conformation is just perfect for a racehorse. He was one of those athletes that was just ahead of his class.
It's not how we fly, but how we fall that separates the pioneer spirit from the rest. This is what's remembered, what remains, when all else has been stripped away.
Here comes Personal Ensign, unleashing a furious one on the outside, but it is still winning colors. Goodbye, Halo. Personal Ensign, a 16th of a mile from the wire. Winning colors is there. Personal Ensign, a dramatic finish, and here is the wire, and it is Personal Ensign there with winning colors in a photo. Very close at the 16th pole. It looked like Personal Ensign was facing her first defeat, but in those final 110 courageous yards, she certainly proved herself a champion this afternoon.
For all those who want to talk about Songbird and Beholder, I give you Exhibit A, and still the gold standard when it comes to the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. That 1988 finish at Churchill Downs, so much was on the line because Winning Colors was trying to regain her reputation after beating the boys in the Kentucky Derby that year, and she looked like she had the race won. And here came Personal Ensign in the final start of her career, trying to remain undefeated. She had come back from surgery several times, and with pins in her leg, she found a way to catch Winning Colors and retire 10 for 10. What kind of moments will we have here at the Breeders' Cup? We're looking so forward to it. And we also have to think about what comes after the Breeders' Cup here at Keeneland, Scott Hazelton.
Yeah, there's always something on the horizon in this game of thoroughbred horse racing, and whether it's wrapping up Del Mar and Saratoga and immediately diving into the September sale here at Keeneland, or is in this instance right after the Breeders' Cup jumping right into the most important breeding stock sale each and every year. Keeneland, November. Horses will start to arrive here at Keeneland down in the sales barns down at the bottom of the hill, the first barns 1 through 10, and they will start to assemble on Friday here at Keeneland Racecourse. And of course, with the racing going on Friday and Saturday, the previews will be heavy on Sunday. A lot of activity down in the sales grounds as we will have some very significant proven producers. We've got horses like Expo Gold, the first dam of Swiss Skydiver. That dam is in foal to Catholic Boy, as well as Unicorn Girl, the dam of Jackie's Warrior, and she is pregnant to Into Mischief. Todd, that is just naming a few of the proven producers. Alexandra, one of the leading contenders for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, she will be on offer as well here at Keeneland November. So as soon as the Breeders' Cup wraps up, all attention towards November, and that is Keeneland November right here in the Keeneland sales grounds.
And TVG will have all the coverage anchored by the ambassador Scott Hazelton for that ultra important November sale. It's also TVG which can give you the best way to follow the Breeders' Cup by downloading the Watch TVG app. Very excited about what you're going to be able to do this year. Download the Watch TVG app either through the Apple Store or maybe it's through Amazon Fire or Roku. But when you do, you can choose one or multiple of our live streams that follow the Breeders' Cup contenders from the time they enter the paddock until they walk into the starting gate. We'll have a camera dedicated for each starter across all 14 races, allowing you to keep a close eye on all horses as they warm up for their World Championship moment. Download the Watch TVG app today. And today was full of drama out on the racetrack, and then the unfortunate news that Vacoma will have to scratch from the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Tomorrow will bring more, and it will be the final day of TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, because the Breeders' Cup is just 48 hours away, with Future Stars Friday and then a big Saturday to follow. Thank you for joining us.
Introducing the Equibase app with all new features, including Smart Pick, smart handicapping made easy. Choose your track, choose your race, and then go to Smart Pick. Select your level of risk, the size of your wager, and which of these 3 strategies you want to emphasize. SmartPick will then tailor your very own selection and bet amount. It couldn't be easier. SmartPick, one of the exciting new features in the Equibase app. Download it free of charge.